And at number 10, David Letterman. Several old interview clips of David Letterman's have resurfaced in the last year, and many are saying that he crossed major lines. One example was with Lindsay Lohan in 2013. She did the interview recently out of rehab, and Letterman persistently asked her questions about it, even though she made it clear that she didn't want to be asked about it. However, he unfortunately kept pressing, leading her to cry. Next, he did an unfortunate interview with Janet Jackson. Letterman was pressing her about her infamous Super Bowl incident, asking her questions about how her wardrobe malfunction came to be. Right after she was asked about it, she replied, quote, "I don't want to relive any of that." But Letterman kept asking while Jackson looked like she wanted to be anywhere but there. This is literally the tip of the iceberg, and there are so many more horrendous moments with women that took place on his show. And at number 9, Michael Jordan. Basketball legend Michael Jordan is the idol of many who love the sport. But there's apparently a very rude and entitled side of him that one golf caddy saw firsthand. Allegedly, this golf caddy was caddying for Jordan the whole day. And at the end of the long and I'm sure stressful day, all the other players tipped their caddies, as that's the custom in golf. However, Michael Jordan did not tip his caddy, and the caddy's first thought was that maybe Jordan was unhappy with him and maybe he did a bad job for him. So he asked Jordan if everything was good, and he allegedly responded, quote, "What do you want? A tip? You should feel lucky to carry my clubs." And when rich people don't tip, it truly just ticks me off to a whole other level. Like, the entitlement is just so crazy. And at number 8, Dove Cameron. Dove Cameron is a Disney star who is beloved by many for her kind personality. However, many fans were shocked to learn that she definitely has a mean side. One incident happened when a fan tweeted out saying how their goal in life was to have Dove notice her. And while that goal was achieved, but not in the way that she hoped. Dove ended up responding savagely to the fan, saying, quote, "That's a very small and unimportant life goal. And maybe if I notice you, you'll realize how unfulfilling that is and turn your phone off because celebrities don't matter. Go find yourself in nature and create your own life philosophy. Aim higher, babe." And if you interpret what she's saying the way that Dove was probably intending, it can be implied here that Dove just wanted the fan to realize that being noticed by Dove, wouldn't help her in life in any way, and to stop putting so much meaning on it. But obviously the way Dove said it was really harsh, and if I was the fan, I probably would have been heartbroken. And at number 7, Terry Hatcher. This one breaks my heart because I'm a huge fan of Desperate Housewives. I'm currently rewatching it right now. I'm on season 8 if anyone's wondering. But apparently on the set of the hit show, she was known as the mean girl, and all the leading ladies got along except for her. One of her co-stars told the creator of Desperate Housewives that she was the, quote, "meanest woman in the world." She was not only a pain on the show, but on practically all of her projects, and she now has a reputation for a bad attitude. Back when she was filming Tomorrow Never Dies, co-star Pierce Brosnan called her out for never being on time. Luckily, she's a good enough actress that people put up with her bad attitude on set. And at number 6, Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan has a reputation for being controversial and saying whatever's on his mind, regardless of the consequences. But this behavior has earned him a reputation of being mean, specifically towards Meghan Markle. And there's actually a dating story behind it that makes the whole thing even more juicy. Apparently the two went on a date and Meghan ghosted him afterwards, spawning his hatred of her. Most recently, after Meghan's explosive interview with Oprah Winfrey, Piers did not hold back, trashing her on Good Morning Britain. Before him, the other host could even discuss the topic, he went on raging about how the interview is tarnishing the reputation of Britain around the world and hurting everything the Queen has worked so hard for. After the outrage from viewers, Piers decided to step down from the show. Halfway at number 5, Kiefer Sutherland. Apparently, Sutherland had a lot in common with his 24 character, Jack Bauer, as both of them constantly got on the nerves of their colleagues. According to an interview with Freddie Prinze Jr., he claimed that Sutherland was very unprofessional and he hated working with him on 24. Prinze Jr. said, quote, "I did 24, it was terrible. I hated every moment of it," with him adding that Sutherland was the most unprofessional person that he ever worked with. And he felt so sternly about it, he would say it to his face if he ever confronted him about it. Another co-star also spoke about her disdain for Sutherland, saying that working with him was very hard because he's a very angry person, angry with himself and others, which he took out on anyone who got in his way. And at number 4, Patrick Dempsey. McDreamy was the lovable and kind hero in the hit show Grey's Anatomy, but his behavior when the cameras were not rolling was completely different. And apparently he was such a diva, he ended up being fired from the show. Shonda Rhimes, the show's creator, head writer, executive producer, and showrunner, announced that she adopted a quote no a-holes policy, apparently after working with Dempsey. Allegedly, a big part of the reason that he was fired is because he was disrespectful to the crew of the show. When he was killed off the 15th season, fans were shocked, but those close to the show knew it was a long time coming. A source close to the situation told Radar Online that Rhimes had no choice but to fire Dempsey. Quote, he had been showing up late and was holding up production because he couldn't remember his lines. And at number 3, Hailey Bieber. Hailey Bieber was called out by TikTok influencer Julia Carolan when Julia made a video series exposing celebrities that were rude to her while she was working as a hostess at a popular Manhattan restaurant. In the video, she commented on Kylie Jenner and the Hadid sisters, and when it came to Hailey Bieber, she rated her interactions with Hailey to be a 3.5 out of 10. Saying in the video, quote, this is gonna be controversial. I've met her a handful of times and she was not nice. I really wanted to like her, but I give her a 3.5 out of 10, sorry. But most shockingly, Hailey actually responded in the comments of the TikTok, apologizing for the situation. Responding in the comments that Hailey was so sorry if she'd given Julia a bad vibe or attitude. It's hard to say if this was just a bad interaction or a pattern of behavior, but it's great to see that Hailey apologized. And at number 2, Rachel Ray. Rachel Ray is someone who I'm not too surprised to see on this list, because from watching her show, I never really got the vibe that she was trying to be really nice. The celebrity chef is known for being pretty brutal, and she doesn't have much of a filter when dealing with people. That's why negative interactions are pretty common with her. One encounter came from someone who was working in a mall while she was visiting for a book signing. Basically, they were both sitting there just waiting around, and there was an awkward silence. And like a lot of other people would have done in that situation, he just decided to, spark up some conversation, make some casual small talk, and ask her how her day was going. And apparently, without even looking up from her phone, she replied, quote, don't talk to me. Yikes. And finally, at number 1, Matthew Perry. Matthew Perry is best known as the lovable Chandler from Friends, but his personality in real life is anything but. And sadly, an intern found that out the hard way. Apparently, he showed up to the studio because he was on a press tour, but when Perry arrived, he threw a huge tantrum and refused to participate in the press tour. And apparently all that stress that was put on the people working there was because they didn't get him the sugar-free Red Bull that he requested. Even though he didn't want to do the interview, he was forced to because of a contract. But he made sure to do the absolute bare minimum, and he was terrible on camera. Then when he went to leave, he refused to use the car his publicist got him because it wasn't up to his standards, and he got his own car instead. And apparently after all that, his publicist was in tears. I don't blame her, I probably would be too.
At number 10, Kim Kardashian. Kim K is definitely no stranger to scandal. It seems like every few weeks she's in the news about something, and her fans, haters, and news sources alike are talking about her latest scandal, either defending or scrutinizing her for it. Though she's faced backlash for political drama and for taking vacations during the pandemic, one of her longest standing dramas is her cultural appropriation. Many of the things Kim posts or advertises gets called out for cultural appropriation. Back when she first launched her shapewear line Skims, she faced backlash for its original name being kimono, as it was seen as offensive to the Japanese community. She's also been called out for appropriating black culture as well because of the hairstyles that she's worn and for blackfishing. Kim has been seen wearing cornrows and posing with darkened tans on multiple occasions, which has angered many people. She, as well as many other members of her family, have been called out for these kinds of actions, and the fact that this keeps happening kind of says a lot about them. At number 9, Drake Bell. I think most people know about Drake Bell from his time on Nickelodeon, specifically for his role in the show Drake and Josh. Drake Bell was a big part of a lot of people's childhoods, but his past actions may surprise you. In August 2020, Drake was accused of mistreating his ex-girlfriend Melissa Lingefeld after she took to TikTok to make a video detailing her experiences with the actor. Melissa told fans on TikTok that during her relationship with Drake, which lasted from August 2006 to February 2009, she endured physical and verbal mistreatment from her partner. The pair started dating when Melissa was 16, and after a year of dating, she claimed that the quote, worst type of verbal mistreatment you could ever imagine began. She then detailed some of the physical mistreatment that she endured as well. She also brought to light some of the messages that suggested other inappropriate relationships that Drake has had in the past. Drake denied these allegations, but support and praise for telling her story was still given to Melissa regardless. Before I carry on with this list, I'd like to ask you guys to please consider leaving a like on this video if you are enjoying it so far. It really helps the channel out and we love seeing your support as well. At number 8, Bruce Willis. Actor Bruce Willis has had a great career making great movies and basking in fame, but it seems as though he's not all that great in real life. Though his films are often very successful, it all comes at a price that those who worked alongside him have had to pay. Apparently, Bruce is a nightmare to work with as he's gotten into some conflicts with others on set, and people just really hate working with him. Before Die Hard launched his film career, he was brought into stardom after working on the show Moonlighting alongside his co-star Sybil Shepherd. In 2005, Shepherd told sources that there came a point where her relationship with Bruce became volatile and they clashed a lot on set. There was reportedly constant bickering and it was just a toxic environment. But Sybil isn't the only one to have clashed with Bruce while working together. Filmmaker Kevin Smith has also had his troubles with working with Bruce while filming the 2010 film Cop Out. He told sources that though he said that Bruce was his hero in past productions, that opinion completely went out the window after saying that working with Bruce was very difficult. When talking about their time together on set, he turned out to be the unhappiest, most bitter, and meanest emo B-word I've ever met at any job I've held down, and mind you, I've worked at Domino's Pizza. What an awful experience, end quote. Maybe Bruce just isn't all he's cracked up to be. At number 7, Jesse James. Jesse James is an American entrepreneur, TV personality, and Sandra Bullock's ex-husband. Jesse is known in the media for his extramarital affairs as he's known to have cheated on Sandra Bullock when they were together, and most recently we found out that he cheated on his now ex-wife Alexis DeJoria with at least 20 women. Leaked DMs and other images expose Jesse for his affairs, but this isn't the first time that a photo has gotten him in trouble. The West Coast Choppers founder was also accused of being someone who supports the ideals similar to those of the World War II German government in 2004 after a photo was leaked which showed him posing like the fascist German leader. I think you know what I'm talking about. Jesse clearly has problems respecting people on different fronts, and he definitely is not a nice person. At number 6, Naomi Campbell. Supermodel Naomi Campbell has been in the fashion industry for over 30 years, and over this time she's had her fair share of scandals and feuds, most notably her feud with fellow model Tyra Banks, who's painted Naomi as the industry's mean girl. Though this feud has shown that Tyra is actually meaner than Naomi, and we've covered her mean streak in one of our other parts of this series, that doesn't mean that Naomi is off the hook as she's known to have violent outbursts. Naomi has been accused of being violent on 11 occasions and has been convicted of assault 4 times. Some of the reported violent incidents include the model physically harming her assistant, grabbing her by the throat and beating her with a phone, harming another assistant and allegedly holding her hostage, throwing her phone at a housekeeper, and other accounts of emotional and physical distress. Naomi is known for having a temper and for getting into conflicts in the past, but still tries to make amends for those actions. At number 5, Terrence Howard. Empire actor Terrence Howard has a reputation for being difficult. He was dropped by the Iron Man franchise over failed contract negotiations and for being difficult to work with on set. This is far from the only reason why he's on this list. Terrence also has a reputation for harming women and others on many occasions. In 2000, the actor was arrested for assaulting a flight attendant, but those charges were later dropped. 1 year later, he was arrested again for getting into a heated argument with his ex-wife, which led to him driving to her house, kicking down the door, and physically harming her, to which he pleaded guilty. In 2005, he was involved in another violent encounter as he allegedly punched 2 people, and in 2010, less than a week after their wedding, Terrence began mistreating his wife, physically harming her and threatening her life. 2 years later, he was involved in another fight with one of his mistresses, where he physically assaulted her as well. Other than the fact that these violent incidents have happened so many times, the fact that he's also gone out of his way to blame these incidents on the victims on multiple occasions also says something about his attitude. At number 4, Dan Schneider. If you watched Nickelodeon in the late 90s and early 2000s, you may be familiar with Dan Schneider. Schneider was the creator of hit shows like The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, and iCarly, and was a longtime partner with Nickelodeon, so it came as a surprise to many after it was announced that the company would be cutting ties with Dan and his production company. Being such an abrupt decision, many were left wondering what happened, and as a result, allegations of misconduct started to come to light. Since his departure from the company, allegations of mistreatment came out as well as allegations of manipulating actors and suggestive behavior as well. Though these allegations have been denied by Dan, some former stars have subtly advised fans to not support Dan or his past shows. Actress Alexa Nicholas, known for her role in Zoey 101, made a series of posts about Dan after allegations against him came out, where she told people to not watch his shows, saying that he is not a good guy. If there's one thing we know, it's that Hollywood is scarily good at brushing misconducts under the rug, so perhaps he is a monster, but for now, it's just unconfirmed. At number 3, Neil deGrasse Tyson. You may know Neil deGrasse Tyson for being a Pluto hater, or for his time on TV having guest spots on The Big Bang Theory, and for hosting the show Cosmos, but after today, you may know him for being a bad guy. First off, let's talk about his tweeting habits. People know him for his obnoxious opinions on sci-fi movies, as he likes to pick them apart for their scientific inaccuracies on Twitter, but he's also angered people for being insensitive. In 2019, after the US experienced a pair of mass shootings in Texas and Ohio, Tyson took to Twitter seemingly defending the gun violence, saying that more people have died for medical reasons or from accidents in those 2 days than from the shootings. He faced backlash for this tone-deaf tweet, but he's also faced backlash in the past for more serious issues. Other than his offensive tweets, he's also been accused of assault and harassment in the past. 3 women have come forward to accuse the scientist of assaulting them, and one of these women claims that Neil gave her a substance and had non-consensual relations with her, though he ended up writing this incident off as false memory. I was shocked to hear about Neil, and I'm sure I'm definitely not the only one who didn't know about this. At number 2, Hilary Duff. Hilary Duff is seemingly one of the former Disney stars who was able to walk away from the company unscathed, for the most part, but over the years it seems as though she's traded her goody Disney image for a mean girl attitude. While her character Lizzie McGuire stood up to being mean, Hilary clearly did not keep that in mind when she put her neighbor on blast in 2018. The actress took to her Instagram to rant about her neighbor, talking about the noise and the smell that she's endured while living near them, but instead of keeping their name out of things, she put it out there. Multiple times. On several Instagram stories, Hilary posted her neighbor's first and last name as she continued to berate them and call them names. Doing this actually violated Instagram's community guidelines, and some of the posts were taken down as a result. I mean, anybody can rant about whatever, as we've seen on the internet multiple times, but posting their name to millions of followers who are also able to find this person and berate them more is definitely going too far and definitely grants you a mean status. And finally, at number 1, Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson is known for his alt-metal music and unique style, but now he's also known as someone who hurts others. Actress Evan Rachel Wood came out to name the singer as the one who's hurt her, accusing him of manipulating and brainwashing her from a young age. The actress posted a testimony to her Instagram calling Manson as well as the industry out for his actions and for enabling him all this time. In the past, Evan Rachel Wood has spoken out about the fact that she was in a toxic relationship and has detailed some of the horrific things that she's experienced, but she's never named the one who mistreated her until now. In a published testimony, she said, quote, "He broke me down through means of starvation, sleep deprivation, and threats against my life, sometimes with things which would result in me having severe panic attacks where I was unable to breathe or stop shaking." She also said that she had her phone tapped and had threats made against her loved ones. Other women have also come forward to detail their encounters with the singer and the things that they've experienced as well. Manson has since been dropped by his label and booking agent after these allegations came to light. At number 10, Catherine Zeta-Jones. According to people who've worked with or lived near, actress Catherine Zeta-Jones is one of those celebrities you do not want to run into. People have had some less than kind reviews about their encounters with the actress, and it's surprising. Apparently, Catherine has a very entitled attitude, expecting to be catered to her every whim, and refuses to tip you for your assistance. One person even shared a story about how she was living in a condo when visiting a different city and demanded that the other tenants be banned from using the facility's gym while she was there. As one would expect, this request did not go over well with the rest of the tenants. She also has a reputation of being harsh and cold with fans. Once, when an 8-year-old fan of hers approached her saying that she wanted to become an actress just like Catherine, the actress reportedly just looked the girl up and down and told her, quote, "You're pretty enough, I suppose," and then just walked away. Clearly, Catherine has some things to learn about being nice to others. At number 9, Russell Crowe. Actor Russell Crowe is able to command an audience while performing and captivate them with his talent, but that seems to be about the extent of his pleasant connection with others, since he's reportedly a very mean person. There have been a number of reports detailing his violent outbursts, from yelling at people like fans and co-workers to fighting with his bodyguards. At one point, he was even rude to a large group of people while on an Irish talk show where he was performing a Johnny Cash song. The audience tried clapping along to the song but couldn't keep in time, and this made Russell mad and he told them to shut up. Russell has also had a violent outburst with hotel staff in 2005 where he threw a phone at one of its employees, resulting in him getting charged with felony assault. And to top it all off, he even had some harsh words for his fellow actors, calling George Clooney, Harrison Ford, and Robert De Niro sellouts. Before I continue on with the video, I just want to let you guys know that we have a brand new gaming channel launching January 22nd. Viper Girl, aka me, will be streaming everything from Minecraft to FNAF to Cyberpunk and more. Check this promo out and go subscribe after this. I promise you will not regret it. Oh my gosh, I almost died. I almost died. I thought you were a cactus, my friend. I thought you were a cactus. We've got iron, baby. Yes. Okay, my main goal is to blow up and then act like I don't know nobody. Bro, no, I'm gonna fight you with a pork chop. No, come here. This is awesome. At number 8, Jon Hamm. Some have pointed out that Jon Hamm's Mad Men character, Don Draper, is played a little bit too well. The mean and arrogant character seems to share a number of similarities to Jon's own personality, according to some, which sort of makes the two of them mold into one uber mean guy. According to Kathy Griffin, of all people, Jon Hamm is a rude guy, and she exposed him in her book Celebrity Run-Ins: My A to Z Index. In her book, Kathy recounts her unpleasant encounter with Jon at a dinner party. Jon apparently questioned why Kathy was at the event in the first place, and then later on he approached her again, clearly intoxicated, while she was talking to Jack Nicholson, and whispered in her ear saying, quote, "You know your Emmy isn't a real Emmy and you're so old." That's exactly how it was spelled. Old. Yeah, sure, he's in the Skip the Dishes commercials, but frankly, I'd like to skip him. At number 7, Carrie Underwood. This one was a little surprising to me, but according to those who've encountered Carrie Underwood, she's not as nice as you'd think. Apparently, Carrie is sometimes known to be quite rude and arrogant. Carrie is reportedly rude to other celebrities and often snaps at them, expecting utter perfection or nothing at all. She once told Leighton Meester to, quote, "get out there and not F it up" at an award show, and when someone spoke up about that kind of attitude, Carrie just replied saying, quote, "she'll get over it." Carrie has also admitted to being less than hospitable towards fans and even being selfish and closed off around them. There have even been reports of Carrie being a song stealer. A singer-songwriter sued Carrie, the NFL, and NBC for having allegedly stolen a song that she had written in 2016, saying that they plagiarized it and were using it to introduce Sunday Night Football. The suit was later dropped, but it still left people wondering if that's all she's allegedly stolen. At number 6, Ben Stiller. Though many people know him as this super funny guy, behind closed doors, it seems as though he's quite the opposite. People who know or have worked with Ben in the past have exposed some of his mean behavior, and it's pretty shocking. According to those who worked with him on the set of Tropic Thunder, he was very controlling and mean to just about everyone. He reportedly had a meltdown on set when his Diet Coke didn't have exactly 2 ice cubes in it, and he even had someone fired because they didn't put enough sugar in his coffee. Ben even forced his assistant to stand out in the parking lot in his designated parking space, even though it already had a sign saying that it was reserved. Ben also freaked out on a female assistant that he had and refused to come back to set until she was replaced by a male assistant. Being an assistant to the stars can often pay well, but I don't think you could ever pay me enough to endure Ben Stiller's treatment of others. At number 5, Vanessa Hudgens. When you think about Vanessa Hudgens, most people would picture her in High School Musical. For years, she carried around that Disney vibe, but after learning about her dark side, you may change your thoughts about her. Basically, Vanessa often lets her jealousy get the best of her, and oftentimes this leads to people getting their feelings hurt. Take for example this one time when a fan approached Vanessa's ex, Zac Efron. The couple were out shopping at a department store when a young fan went up to Zac to tell him how much she loved him. She was apparently super nervous and stumbling over her words, and so instead of being an understanding and respectful person, Vanessa instead started making fun of the young fan. She started laughing at the poor girl and humiliated her in front of her celebrity crush. The other shoppers were shocked at Vanessa's behavior, but this apparently wasn't a new thing, since Vanessa had reportedly told sources that she found fans to be obnoxious. Fans aren't the only ones to feel her wrath either, and she was rumored to have bullied Selena Gomez as well, on a few occasions. At number 4, Cuba Gooding Jr. There is a lot that could be said about Cuba Gooding Jr. Firstly, it looks as though Cuba has quite a short temper. Once at a bar in New Orleans, some fans approached him asking for a photo, and instead of politely declining, he started yelling and swearing at those who asked for anything from him. Naturally, this caused a scene, but when the bartender asked him to leave, he responded by shoving her against a wall. Yeah. Lovely. This isn't the only time he's laid his hands on a woman though, because along with a bad temper, Cuba also has a record of having inappropriate or unwanted actions with women. His alleged victims have come forward accusing the actor of things from unwanted touching to making inappropriate remarks and creating uncomfortable environments by displaying unwanted flirtatious advances. Cuba has actually faced a number of lawsuits regarding his inappropriate behavior around women, and a number of women have come forward to share their unwanted encounters with him. Obviously, I can't go into detail about the things he's been accused of for YouTube reasons, but if you really want to know, it's on the internet for you to read. Bottom line, this guy is not nice at all. At number 3, Alec Baldwin. Actor Alec Baldwin is yet another celebrity who's rubbed people the wrong way because of his short temper. He's gotten in trouble over the years for being verbally and physically aggressive, which caused him to have a mean streak in Hollywood. One of his earliest scandals happened in 1995, where he was placed under a citizen's arrest after punching a cameraman in the face, breaking his nose. The altercation happened because a photographer was trying to take a picture of his new daughter, so I guess his parental instincts just got the best of him. But if this aggression was just a one-off, that would be one thing, but unfortunately this isn't the case with Alec. Later on in 2007, he was in the news again for berating his daughter on the phone, calling her a selfish little pig, among other harsh things, after he got frustrated that she didn't pick up his calls. And he was kicked off of an American Airlines flight in 2011 after being aggressive after he was told to turn his phone off on the plane. There are a number of other stories of Alec getting aggressive, so I think it's safe to say that he's got a mean streak. At number 2, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan had her Hollywood fall from grace, and even though we still talk about her, she doesn't hold the same notoriety as she once did. There are a lot of factors that play into that, but one of those being her reputation of rubbing people the wrong way. There are people who say that she's entitled because she gained fame at such a young age, so she expects everyone to bow down to her in a way. She's also been called a liar after lying to police on multiple occasions, and Paris Hilton even called her a pathological liar after Lindsay claimed to have handled Whitney Houston's body bag while volunteering at a morgue. On top of that, she's apparently a nightmare to work with because she damages sets and steals props and has a reputation for holding up production. She's known to berate her assistants for the littlest things, and she's known to manipulate people into getting her own way. There are a number of people who have horror stories about Lindsay making her out to be less than kind. At number 1, Shia LaBeouf. There is a lot to talk about when it comes to Shia LaBeouf. He is definitely a mean person because of the things that he's been accused of, including abuse, racism, and ableism. Shia was criticized for his behavior at the 2020 Oscars because he was being impatient with his co-presenter Zach Gottsagen. Zach became the first person with Down syndrome to present at the Academy Awards, and Shia was seen getting tense and rushing Zach along with his presentation, which was seen as offensive and ableist. On top of that, Shia has been accused of racism after footage showed him going on a racist rant towards a black police officer when he was arrested in 2017. And most recently, Shia has been facing backlash for allegedly abusing his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs, as she filed a lawsuit against him detailing some of the things that she endured while with him. Shia has a history of hurting others in many different ways, but the bottom line is that he's just not a nice guy. At number 10, Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball was a star, super talented, a trailblazer for women in comedy, and someone who seemed to have a bright and fun personality. But according to some people who worked with her or had met the Hollywood star, Lucille wasn't all that nice to everyone she met. Some fans reported having unpleasant encounters with her, saying that she could be quite rude at times, and some celebs at the time had said things like that as well. Apparently, shows were a little apprehensive about booking Lucille because she could be mean to other guests and staff, and they just didn't want to deal with the drama. Others who worked alongside the actress revealed that she didn't like interacting with the help and got a reputation amongst flight attendants for being mean and refusing to speak to them when they would ask for her drink order or other things that she might need, and directed them to talk to her assistant instead. She would also refuse to talk to anyone she considered lower than she was in the entertainment industry. She was still a star, but maybe not so much in the eyes of those she worked with. At number 9, Jerry Seinfeld. I don't know about you guys, but when I noticed that a lot of people think that Jerry Seinfeld is mean, I was a little shocked. I mean, I don't know much about the guy, but I just didn't peg him as being the mean type. Most Most people don't like him because his humor goes a little too far, which I can totally understand. Some examples of crude humor from his show Comedians in the Car Getting Coffee include jokes about Harvey Weinstein and poking fun at the Me Too movement, as well as joking about assault and using words like gay in a derogatory manner. Also, he apparently doesn't like young people. According to sources, Jerry has refused to speak at colleges because he says students these days are too sensitive. What are your opinions on Jerry? Like I said, I don't know much about him apart from the Bee Movie, so what are your thoughts? Is his humor too crude, or are there other reasons you may or may not like him? If you're enjoying the video so far, please consider leaving a like on this video. We love seeing you guys supporting the channel, and it really helps us out. At number 8, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase is known for being in National Lampoon and the show Community, but is also known around Hollywood as being kind of a jerk. There are a bunch of articles and books and interviews of people talking about their experiences with the actor and how mean he can be. There are even stories in the book Live from New York that detail the times that Chase has been mean to staff, writers, interns, and other hosts. Will Ferrell and Bill Murray are among those who don't like Chase because of the way he's treated others. Will Ferrell has said that he doesn't like Chevy because of the way he treats some female staff members. But it's not just the people on set that have been disrespected by the actor. Fans have also had horrible experiences with him. There was reportedly one incident where Chevy called a server at a restaurant a gay slur because his usual table wasn't ready, and there was another unpleasant fan encounter where one of his supporters went to greet the actor backstage at a theater and he got slapped in the face. I think you'd want to stay away from this guy because he doesn't sound very friendly. At number 7, Taylor Swift. A lot of people don't like Taylor Swift because of her attitude. She's really talented and has a lot of success in the industry, but some people have said that her attitude has rubbed them the wrong way. Taylor has been seen feuding with a lot of women in the industry, even though she preaches about spreading positivity and feminism. On top of that, the fact that she writes so many songs about her exes make people see her negatively because these relationships may not deserve to be exposed in the way that she does. In the past, Taylor has also faced cultural appropriation scandals because of her music video for the song Shake It Off, and to dig deeper, some people have also discovered that Taylor used to be a bully in high school. Basically, some people say that her quirky girl next door sort of look is all fake and that she's really just a bully. But what do you guys think? At number 6, Pierce Brosnan. During an episode of The Late Late Show in 2017, James Corden spilled the tea on the rudest celebrity he's ever met, and it took some people by surprise. During a segment of Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts, guest Khloe Kardashian asked James about his worst experience with a celebrity, and James did not hold back. He told viewers about a run-in that he had with the actor at a concert while with his wife. James said, quote, "I went to see U2 and Pierce Brosnan was with some friends here, and they left halfway through the gig to go off. So me and my wife moved into this area, and literally this arm went on here and just pushed me out of the way. I looked at him like that, and he didn't even glance at me," end quote. So basically, Pierce left his section for a bit, and James moved in, but when Pierce got back, he shoved James out of the way. I mean, he could have just been a little nicer about it. I don't know, like tapping him on the shoulder and saying, "Excuse me." I never thought of Pierce Brosnan as a mean person, but James' story may have changed my mind. At number 5, Christina Aguilera. Christina Aguilera has the voice of a goddess, but that doesn't mean that she is one. Turns out she has a bad side, and a few people have experienced it. Other than being shady at Lady Gaga during their 2008 feud, where she called her some unpleasant names and said, quote, "I'm not quite sure who this person is, to be honest. I don't know if it's a man or a woman," and she's had some other rude encounters. When working on set of her various gigs, she's reportedly always late and holds up production, and has never apologized for delaying production. She also reportedly had some beef with Adam Levine while working on The Voice, and they would bicker constantly. Christina is also known as a diva, and working for her seems to be a nightmare because sources say that she's very rude and demanding of her household staff and treats her staff poorly, insisting that they're on call 24/7. Christina has also had feuds with Pink and Mariah Carey, and even got mad at Mickey Mouse once. Yeah, she got into a heated argument with Mickey Mouse when at Disneyland in 2014 for her birthday. She wanted to take a picture with the mouse, but he was going on break, and so instead of being an understanding person, she pulled the "Do you know who I am" card. Not very nice. At number 4, Gene Simmons. Musician Gene Simmons is known for his performances and music, not so much for being a nice guy. Though people may like him for the music that he creates, you may feel differently about him after learning how mean he really is. Gene has been called a misogynist because of some of the things that he said to and about women. One example of him being offensive towards women comes from an interview he did for NPR where he was talking about how money is important to him, saying, quote, "I don't know what other tool I would use besides money to buy it. Although as a woman, of course you have the ability to sell your body, then get the money, and then with that get food, end quote. Not a nice way to think of women at all. Gian has also said some creepy and disgusting things about women he's slept with and women in general, calling them names and saying derogatory things, and has also made a number of racist remarks. He's made horrible remarks about many different cultures and races and has even included some disrespectful language in some songs. I'd recommend not getting too close to this one either. At number 3, Adam Levine. Well, we talked about Christina Aguilera, so next up on the voice cast list is Adam Levine, and boy, is there some tea. Though Adam has cleaned up his act a bit in recent years after settling down, there was a time that he was not a nice guy. In the past, Adam has trash talked a lot of his exes, making for some pretty toxic energy. And of course, we have to mention his feuding with Christina Aguilera. He's also had beefs with Lady Gaga and Miley Cyrus just because he was very nitpicky about their music for no reason really, and he's also been in several arguments with other voice co-stars as well. Adam has also been accused of being a homewrecker because he had an alleged affair with Jessica Simpson, and he's also given some inappropriate details about his love life that I'm sure his partner would have liked to have been kept secret. But I think the thing that tops this all off is the fact that Adam has said in the past that he, quote, didn't give autographs to ugly chicks. 2 words: toxic energy. At number 2, Sandra Bullock. I don't know about you, but to me, when I think about Sandra Bullock, I think of a wholesome soccer mom. Like the type of person that would comfort you but give you some tough love. Well, after learning about how mean Sandra really is, I don't think I'll be looking at her the same way again. A fan had a very unpleasant run-in with the actress and she totally blew up in his face. The story goes that a woman and her husband were out for a walk in the park when they recognized Sandra in the area. She was on a break from filming The Heat, and so the couple approached Sandra and asked for an autograph. The husband was a big fan of hers and he was a wheelchair-bound veteran, so they thought that she might take a moment for them, but sadly that wasn't the case. Instead, she started screaming at him and sorta had a meltdown. Later on, the couple said that they understand that celebrities might not like being hounded by paparazzi and fans, but they thought that maybe she'd make an exception for them. Even still, a simple no would have done the trick. There was no reason to yell. At number 1, John Mayer. John Mayer is not as nice as you may have thought. Though his songs sound beautiful and his lyrics might move you, he isn't the man you thought he was. Turns out he's a jerk. He's spoken poorly about a lot of women he's dated, including Jessica Simpson and Jennifer Aniston, both of whom still hold grudges to this day, and he's said some pretty nasty things about women in general, making sexually charged comments, and even going so far as to say that he only finds white women attractive and literally no one else. Speaking of race, John has also used a lot of racial slurs in the past, saying the N-word with the hard R on a few occasions, and never having apologized for his actions. So next time you hear one of his songs on the radio, think about the person he really is deep down, and then change the station. You do not need that negativity in your life. At number 10, Rachel Ray. Rachel Ray may seem like a happy, fun, and helpful person on TV, but it seems like that's not exactly true. She might seem wholesome while teaching you how to make a casserole, but deep down she's got a dark side. There are a few unpleasant things about Rachel that people have caught on to, including things like being a lousy tipper at restaurants, having allegedly cheated on her husband, and being rude on set. But she's also been accused of more harsh things like making racial remarks about Oprah, the very woman who gave her start. On top of that, she's also talked badly behind the backs of a lot of celebrities, calling them some pretty mean names that I can't repeat on YouTube, and she's also faced lawsuits for her dog food brand containing toxic substances, so not only is she mean to people, but she's mean to dogs too. At number 9, Jared Leto. If you ask the internet what they think about Jared Leto, a surprising amount of people say that he's kind of a jerk. I even found a list that someone made of all of the reasons that make Jared Leto a bad person, and since this individual, along with a number of others, don't like him, I thought I'd include him on this list to get your take on this. Some of the reasons listed as to why Jared sucks so much include the fact that he's been caught being mean to fans, and he's offended the trans community after winning an Oscar for his performance in Dallas Buyers Club and not mentioning the trans community in his speech, as well as undermining the struggles of the trans community after joking about his appearance in character. Jared has also admitted to lying during interviews whenever possible, and people found his Joker antics on the set of Suicide Squad to be a little mean because of the pranks that he would play on people as well as the gifts that he would send to the cast and crew. I know a lot of his fans say that he's good and a genuine guy, but some of his actions say otherwise. What do you guys think? If you guys are liking the video so far, please go ahead and leave a thumbs up on the video. Your feedback is really helpful and it helps our channel grow, so go ahead and smash that like button. At number 8, Kanye West. Kanye West isn't the nicest guy out there, I think we all know that. I mean, he's not the worst person, but he also has a knack for offending people. Whether it's on stage or on Twitter, I'm sure we've seen Kanye West be pretty mean and offensive on multiple occasions. Let me highlight a few of his worst moments. Remember the VMA incident where he stole Taylor Swift's spotlight after winning her award? Not nice. How about his claim that slavery was a choice, undermining the struggle of so many black lives lost and abused by enslavement? People also think Kanye is mean because he tries to control what his wife Kim wears, trying to manipulate her style but also forcing her to cover up and not show as much skin. We also have to mention his tweets as well. He's very outspoken online and has a tendency to offend people a lot. From his claims about Bill Cosby being an innocent man following his allegations, as well as his tweets bashing his own family members, Kanye does not hold back. Some people believe that Kanye is mean because he thinks that he's better than everyone else and doesn't have to worry about other people's feelings as well. At number 7, Bill Murray. Bill Murray has a bad reputation in Hollywood for his poor behavior on set, so it's no surprise to me to find out that he's actually bullied one of his castmates on the set of Charlie's Angels. While filming the movie, Bill Murray was said to have antagonized actress Lucy Liu. When watching the film, you'd think that they were all good friends and on good terms, but that's quite the opposite. In reality, it was a sort of hostile work environment that caused Bill to take on a dislike towards Lucy. Turns out Bill would insult Lucy's talent and acting ability, and on one occasion even said, quote, "I get why you're here, you've got talent, but what in the hell are you doing here? You can't act." Apparently the harassment and bullying got so bad at one point that Lucy tried throwing punches at Bill during one scene because his insults got so bad. This antagonizing went on for the entire duration of production, and Bill kept on berating Lucy about her presence on set and calling her unprofessional as well. Bill Murray is one mean guy. I mean, he's admitted to being mean, but man, he's got some seriously bad vibes. At number 6, Katherine Heigl. A lot of people don't like Katherine Heigl because of how rude she is. She's been known to be mean to people on set, have high demands, and just has a really bad attitude. She's known to be quite critical of her roles and the material that she's given to work with, and even said that this is why she withdrew from Emmy nominations, because she said that the material that she was given for Grey's Anatomy didn't warrant an Emmy. That's certainly disrespectful to the writers, because for someone to say something like that implies that the writing wasn't good enough to please people, whereas the people at the Emmys thought that it was worth the award. And on top of that, winning this kind of award looks good for the team, but Katherine obviously didn't think of that and she only thought about herself. Talk about a bad attitude. Katherine is also known to make ridiculously high salary demands, and she apparently has been doing this since before she became a big name in the industry. She's reportedly hired and fired a lot of publicists and assistants over the years, so she sounds like quite the diva. Because of all this, directors and Hollywood execs don't want to work with her anymore, and I can't really say I blame them. At number 5, Michael Phelps. Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps is often called the best swimmer of all time, but it seems like his aquatic skills are really all he's got going for him, since he's apparently got a bad attitude. He's done some pretty bad stuff in his life, so people don't think too highly of him. Back in 2014, he was arrested for driving under the influence, and speaking of that influence, Phelps has also been caught with drugs before. This isn't good for his image because being an Olympian, people have a lot of eyes on you. Phelps was reprimanded for his drunk driving and was suspended from swimming for 6 months, but other than that, the scandal was pretty much kept under wraps. On top of this swimmer being a felon, he's also known to not be a team player. Apparently, he hides himself away from his other teammates when at competitions like the Olympics. You would think that being at something like the Olympics, you'd want to soak up all of that team spirit, but no. Michael wants nothing to do with his team and instead flies solo. Kind of a bad attitude if you ask me. At number 4, Zoey Deschanel. Zoey Deschanel plays fun, bubbly, and happy characters in TV and in films, but her real personality is far from nice. Turns out that Zoey is actually pretty mean in real life. Her biggest thing is brushing off or being mean to her fans. According to one fan on Reddit, she allows some fans to talk to her, but only for a brief amount of time, if that. And she doesn't do pictures or autographs, and she'll just walk away from you if she wants to. People who have worked with the actress have also said that she's got a bad attitude on set, and that she's pretty stuck up and has a big ego. Others say that she demands a lot, throws tantrums about literally anything, and has a reputation for delaying shoots, but will go off on anyone else who makes demands or delays shoots. Double standards here. Basically, she's got a bad attitude, and that's one of the reasons why she doesn't get cast much anymore, because no one wants to work with her. At number 3, Ariana Grande. I honestly thought that Ariana Grande was a really nice person. She's pretty soft-spoken and seems like she's really kind, but according to people who've worked with or interacted with the singer, it's not exactly true. She's apparently so bad that even her life coach quit on her, so you know something's up. Apparently, Ariana makes some high demands, from the positioning of lighting to being in the right position when people come to see her or take photos with her. She's also gotten backlash for her attitude from people she's worked with in the past, like Victoria Justice and Jeanette McCurdy. Jeanette has called Ariana a leech and a drama queen, and Victoria has accused Ariana of bullying her on set. Ariana was also involved in that donut licking incident, which painted her as a disrespectful person, and she's been accused of using her relationships to further her career, along with being involved in some cheating scandals on 2 accounts, one while with Jay Brooks and another when she was with Mac Miller. The bottom line with Ariana is that she's not the nice girl she pretends to be. At number 2, Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks is not all she's cracked up to be. She claims to be someone who's inclusive in the modeling industry, and she claims that she's kind and fair to everyone, but that is so far from the truth. She even tried framing Naomi Campbell as the industry's mean girl, but after Naomi responded to those allegations thrown her way, people started realizing that it was Tyra who was the tyrant all along. Other than throwing shade at Naomi, we've also come to realize some of the other horrible things that she's done. For example, while on America's Next Top Model, she made the contestants change their appearances all the time. Though Tyra claims that she's about being unique, she sure does like changing these girls' looks. On top of that, she also forced contestants to wear blackface and other racially insensitive makeup and clothing. Though she claimed that it was to show off and express other cultures, she totally went about that in an offensive and mean way. And Tyra even shamed people for the way they express themselves, as well as some contestants' sexualities. So many former contestants of the show have said how horrible Tyra is to work with, and if you see Tyra's outbursts on TV, I think that's already proof enough as to how mean she can be. At number 1, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is one of the best basketball players of all time. The guy is a legend, but it seems as though Michael isn't all sunshine and rainbows off the court. When in the game, he's dazzling the crowd and winning games, but in real life, outside of sports, he's actually kind of a jerk. Many fans have said that he isn't the nicest celebrity out there because he can be very dismissive and rude to his fans, denying them photos or autographs. He's also been kicked out of a country club for being rude to other guests, and he's also been known to be quite mean to other athletes. For example, he once punched Steve Kerr in the face over a disagreement that they had. On top of that, Jordan bullied Bill Cartwright because he was salty that the team brought him on, and he's also been known to call other players really mean names and threaten them as well. I think he did all that stuff to intimidate these other players so that he could remain on top, but it's still quite rude of him to treat others this way. One more example that shows how mean this guy is: he tried cheating an old lady out of a game of cards. Who does that? Not cool, man. At number 10, Charlize Theron. You wouldn't really think that Charlize Theron was a meanie, but perhaps she does have a dark side. In 2014, Charlize was accused of being less than friendly at a SoulCycle class by fellow actress Tia Mowry. It all started when Tia told tabloids of her unpleasant exchange with Charlize, where she said, quote, "She wasn't very nice to me. I said hi and she actually rolled her eyes and said, oh my god, I wasn't over the top. I know how to approach another celebrity. Charlene was just mean. I'm just being honest." So obviously the tabloids had to look into this even more because an actress being mean is somehow a huge scoop, and they found some tea to back up Tia's story. Turns out that on top of being a little catty, Charlize would also allegedly show up to class in a bad mood, and she has also apparently been known to demand that people who already set up their spot in class switch spots with her, therefore creating a disturbance in the class. SoulCycle describes itself as being more than a class, but a sanctuary, but it seems like Charlize is just famous for disturbing the peace. At number 9, Reese Witherspoon. Reese Witherspoon may seem like a nice person on screen, and in other aspects of light she really might be, but there's also a little bit of diva energy buried within, and we got to see a bit of that energy escape when she and her husband were arrested in 2013. The two of them were pulled over by an officer, and Reese's husband was given a DUI charge, and in an effort to fight the charges, and I'm guessing to intimidate the arresting officer into letting them go, Reese pulled the "do you know who I am" card, and sadly it didn't work. Her attempt at defending her husband resulted in the actress being arrested for disorderly conduct, but the news of her arrest wasn't the only thing to hit the media. The whole incident was caught on camera. But that's not the only incident people have against her. There are also some who say that she wears sunglasses all the time to make sure that no one makes eye contact with her. Others who work for her say that they're afraid of offending her or making her mad, so I'd hate to know what she's like behind closed doors, you know? Before I carry on with the list, I just want to chime in here and ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video. It really helps us out when we get your positive feedback, so please, if you are enjoying the video so far, please give it a thumbs up. At number 8, Gwyneth Paltrow. A lot of people seem to hate Gwyneth Paltrow for some reason, and though she's never really done anything horrible, I get a sense that she's so mean and so disliked in Hollywood because she comes off as pretty pretentious, egotistical, and privileged. People don't really see Gwyneth as the average person or someone that they can really relate to, which can rub people the wrong way. The Goop founder likes flaunting her wealth and materialistic things and makes it seem like it's something that everyone has or can afford. For example, her Goop must-have lists of clothing pieces and other things include things that cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. On top of that, she came from a wealthy family, so being someone who's always been rich, she doesn't really know how to humble herself. People also don't like how she comes across as self-centered, as she always seems to talk about herself and how fit she is and how great her lifestyle is. She also has a diva attitude, and she's been known to slam Michelin star restaurants, and if you know what that means, then you know that she's got an attitude to do something like that. On top of that, she's been known to demand that someone clean and dry the shower at the gym after someone else has used it because she, quote, can't touch someone else's shower water. At number 7, Amy Schumer. Amy Schumer is sort of a I don't care what people think of me kind of person, which can be a good thing sometimes because it allows you to carry yourself with confidence. However, it can also be a bad thing because it prevents you from thinking about how your actions might negatively impact others. An example of this comes from an incident in 2018 where Amy full-on stole a comedian's stand-up set. The story goes that there was an up-and-coming comedian who was doing one of his first long sets, and obviously this was a really big deal for the guy until Amy ruined it. She walked into the venue and went to the manager to ask if she could steal 10 minutes of stage time because she wanted to practice her new set. Because the other comedian had just started, the manager said no, so Amy hit back with, quote, but I'm Amy Schumer. Like, that's gonna make a difference. After getting refusals left and right, she marched up on stage and took over his time for a few minutes. I know Amy is a big timer, but come on. You have to remember what it was like to be up and coming, and that kind of behavior is just plain rude. At number 6, Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz isn't the nicest person in Hollywood, especially in regards to her fans. She's pretty well known for biting the heads off her fans when they approach her looking for photos and autographs. When a fan approaches the actress in hopes of getting an autograph or photo, not only does she refuse them, but she also goes into full-on mom mode and she'll lecture you about why autographs are stupid and why she won't do it. The overarching theme of what Cameron says during her rants at her fans, according to them, seems to be that she'll tell you that autographs are dumb, and that if she made an exception for one person, then she'd have to make an exception for everyone. Though in a way she does have a point about making exceptions for people, she doesn't have to do it in such a mean way. Halfway through at number 5, Mike Myers. Mike Myers isn't really doing much in Hollywood these days, and I think I might know why. It's because he's so mean. There have been a number of horror stories to come out about the actor, which sort of paints him as both a diva and just a really mean person in general. Some of the things that have come out about the actor include rumors that when he's on set, he has someone following him around all day, feeding him chocolates from a Tupperware container, at the same time as ordering other people around and micromanaging the production. And as if that's bad enough, he's also reportedly gotten an actor fired off set for only having made eye contact with Mike. That is some seriously mean and toxic behavior. On top of that, he's allegedly refused to sign autographs for a toy company who made toys based on his characters, and even though he demanded that this company ship him his merchandise as soon as it was ready, he then refused to pay for them. People also describe him as a narcissist and controlling, so no wonder no one wants to work with him anymore. At number 4, Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence is actually one of the few celebrities who's actually admitted to being mean, and being mean on purpose. Yeah, some other celebs might be intentionally mean to intimidate people, but Jennifer Lawrence has actually admitted to being mean as a way to defend herself. Being a Hollywood A-lister must be tough, so you have to find a way to navigate through that, so I'm guessing that being rude works for Jennifer. The actress has said that she is intentionally mean to her fans in an effort to get them to leave her alone. Though I guess it's a good idea in theory to make yourself unapproachable, it might also lead you to losing all of your fans in general. Jennifer really rose to fame through the Hunger Games films, and at the time she would have had a younger fan base, so being mean to these kids was probably taking things a little bit too far. There's really no reason to be afraid of preteens, unless they're on TikTok. At number 3, Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts seems like a nice person. She's always cast as nice and endearing characters, but there's so much more to Julia than meets the eye. Apparently, she's a nightmare to work with. Other than having been part of some messy relationships and having been dubbed as a homewrecker at one point, Julia's bad attitude doesn't just take place off set. In 1991, on the set of the Spielberg film Hook, a Peter Pan film, Julia earned the nickname Tinkerhell as a play on her character Tinkerbell, combined with the production's perception of the actress. Apparently during filming she would show up to the set late all the time, and she would lock herself in her trailer for hours on end. She would also treat people badly, and she would never apologize for her actions or behavior. Tinkerbell might be cute and nice, but Julia Roberts certainly is not. At number 2, Guy Fieri. Guy Fieri, although loved by many, is actually the #1 most hated celebrity chef. You might be asking yourself, why? He's not that bad. Well, my friend, you'd be surprised. Turns out that though Guy is a fun-loving dude on camera, he's actually pretty mean in real life. He's got a pretty big ego, he's made some pretty offensive jokes, and he's not a very nice guy when it comes to women. He's also been accused of being anti-Semitic and anti-gay. People said that he is full of himself and controlled by fame, he makes sexist jokes, and is always caught staring at women's breasts, so much to the point that editors for his show have to cut out those moments. That's a lot. He's also refused to work with or even talk to anyone from the gay community, and apparently you have to give him forewarning before he does. And people also hate him because he makes a mockery of the culinary arts, calling himself a chef when he doesn't even have any culinary training. At number 1, James Corden. James Corden has brought us carpool karaoke, laughs on his show, and entertainment in his other productions. For such a happy and fun guy, there's no way that he could be a total jerk. Wrong again. Turns out he's actually pretty mean, and that this persona that you see on TV is all an elaborate ruse. In reality, James is arrogant, rude, and kind of a diva. There are a bunch of stories that paint James as a mean person. Firstly, he was part of a group of people who advocated for paying late night writers less money. Yes, you heard that right. He's also been known to use the "do you know who I am" line quite a number of times, and he's even reportedly told someone that he could buy them if they didn't do what he wanted. There have been incidents of fans catching James being mean to his wife and letting his temper get the best of him at times. A lot of people say that he only acts nice in order to butt kiss his way to the top, and he doesn't care who he takes down in the process. I only have one word for him: toxic. At number 10, Rihanna. Rihanna might seem like a nice, happy-go-lucky person who's always going hard for her fans, but it turns out that she actually has a little bit of a dark side. I guess you could say that she's savage, like Savage X Fenty. No? Alright. It seems like on a few occasions, she's been quite mean to her fans. She's no stranger to shoving a phone out of her face when approached by a fan, and she's been known to yell at paparazzi and fans when they get a little too close for comfort. On some more unpleasant occasions, she's been filmed smacking a fan on the head with a microphone. During one of her concerts in England in 2013, the singer whacked a fan with her mic because they had reached their hand out to her. Look at that. And in another savage incident, Rihanna mocked a 16-year-old fan online for having recreated one of her red carpet looks for prom, where she called her out on Twitter and made fun of her look, calling it expectation versus reality, and posting a side-by-side comparison. Not the nicest person in the industry, that's for sure. At number 9, Ezra Miller. This one was a little shocking, but it turns out that Ezra Miller might not be as nice of a guy as we think. You may have seen in the intro a video of Ezra Miller choking and slamming a woman to the ground. This video, when it first hit the internet, was thought to have been a joke, but it really wasn't. This happened during an altercation at a bar in Iceland when a group of fans approached the actor and things got out of hand. Bystanders of the incident described the group as being very pushy, and it seemed like this was what triggered Ezra's violent reaction. Things escalated and he lost his temper, leading to the physical altercation. Some say that alcohol may have contributed to the incident, but the bottom line is that Ezra's outburst was not cute, and it really surprised a lot of fans. Just before I continue on with the video, I'd like to ask you guys to maybe consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far. We love getting your positive feedback, and your likes really help us out too, so please go ahead and show us some love by smashing that like button. At number 8, Jennifer Lopez. This probably doesn't come as a shock to many, but it turns out that J-Lo isn't a very nice person. Some say that she's a real diva, and others say that she's just rude. Apparently, the singer/actress is very picky about who may or may not speak to her, and for those permitted to address her, they're not allowed to make eye contact with her. There are even reports that she sometimes flat out refuses to comply with scripts. This has happened on a few occasions, most notably during a filming for a Fiat commercial where they needed to hire a double for Jennifer simply because she just didn't want to do certain things for the shoot. She doesn't have a good reputation with a lot of people she's worked with either. She is said to have completely ignored the people who were remodeling her house. She's gotten a cleaning lady fired for having asked for an autograph, and she even refuses to talk to in-flight staff and pilots on flights, and instructs her assistant to talk to them for her. And even though her staff do so much for her, including communicating for her, they don't get paid very much for their time. J-Lo just gives off bad vibes, so I think maybe it's best to steer clear of her whenever possible. At number 7, Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire might look like the fun and lovable Peter Parker on screen, but unfortunately, that's far from who he really is. Turns out that Tobey is really just a Hollywood jerk, and fame really just drove him to being that way. He started off as a pretty humble guy, but after the Spider-Man films brought him so much fame and success, it consumed him. Towards the end of his Spider-Man days, Tobey had something of an attitude problem, where we saw him harassing people at a poker game, even going so far as to tell a woman to bark like a seal for $1,000. He also racked up a hefty production cost for the third Sam Raimi Spider-Man film because he needed doctors on site at all times to deal with his bad back, and he was only able to walk a certain amount of steps in a scene before needing to quit. Those who worked with him often called his attitude inappropriate, and he's really just been badmouthed by a lot of people he's worked with over the years, so he really doesn't seem like that much of a nice guy. At number 6, Ellen DeGeneres. I think this one's a little obvious because it's Ellen. We've done a lot of videos on Ellen. Ellen has been exposed as one of the meanest people in Hollywood. Even though she was all about kindness and spreading good vibes on her show, it seems like Ellen's angel persona on TV was quite the opposite in real life. Many staff members as well as other people who've been on the show with her and have worked with her in the past have started coming forward to talk about Ellen's mean streak in Hollywood. It turns out that there are some workplace horrors afoot over on the Ellen show set, with people claiming that you're not allowed to look Ellen in the eye, and those who approach her are often spoken to rudely or even face racial biases. Also, there seems to be some kind of drama with the toilets on set. I guess people's butts are very prestigious or something. There have been reports of Ellen getting people in trouble for having chipped nail polish, for giving away fan mail, and apparently there's a rumor that Ellen picks one member of staff to be mean to every day. Lovely person, isn't she? Halfway through at number 5, Christian Bale. Christian Bale's temper is really something to behold. I really wanted to include a clip of one of his outbursts, but there was so much swearing that no one has time to bleep all of that. After his outbursts on set, from crew members upsetting him to fans getting him riled up, Hollywood has begun to paint the actor as someone with serious anger issues. In one instance, according to Christian's former assistant, he once wanted to kill a fan. Fans seem to have really upset the actor on multiple occasions, so apparently once Christian received a fan letter at home, he said that the fan should be eliminated. He described wanting to thrust a screwdriver through the fan's eye and into their brain to the part that prevents screaming. I'll let that one sit there for a second. On another occasion, Christian went on a 4-minute swear word ridden tirade where he really chewed out a crew member from the set of Terminator Salvation. That one I have no quotes for, because if I repeated any of those words, this video would be flagged, and just trust me when I say Christian Bale is one mean SOB. At number 4, Lea Michele. Lea Michele is another celebrity who's been exposed for her mean streak this year. Following a Twitter exposure from former Glee co-star Samantha Ware, Lea has now been described as, quote, callous, rude, mean, and even a diva. But Samantha's exposure of the Broadway star isn't the only testimony that has come forward recounting her mean streak. There have been stories of Lea's microaggressions, but also stories of her spitting in craft service food, refusing to work with people because they didn't know her middle name, requesting reshoots because she didn't like her costume, disrespecting other castmates, and having crew members apologize on her behalf, and just so many other frustrating tidbits that just really show how rude and entitled she's known to be. At number 3, Amber Heard. I couldn't make this mean celebrity list without including Amber. That's like watching a Marvel movie and leaving before the end credits. You just don't do that. I'm sure that we all know who Amber Heard is by now, and if not, where have you been? Amber and Johnny have been the media's it story this past year, and we've learned so much. If you've seen my recent video where I gave you the top 10 worst Amber Heard moments, then it's no surprise to you that she is a horrible person, but if not, let me recap some of her highlights. She's gotten into a fight with her sister, she's been recorded confessing to hitting Johnny Depp, she's pretended to have been a victim of a violent crime, she's smuggled her dogs into Australia, pretended not to have known about the laws there, and tried to get her assistant to commit perjury. She's responsible for Johnny's severed finger, and she's supposedly planted stories in the media to deliberately shift the focus from Johnny to her. Because of all of these things that have come out about the actress, there's just so many people from around the world who just really hate her. There have been petitions to have her removed from certain movies, and she's lost a lot of respect from fans and some Hollywood people as well. So yeah, she definitely belongs on this list. At number 2, Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal seems to be this super great guy who's given back to his community, donated to all these charities, and has done a lot of work to benefit a lot of people. I mean, the guy has a whole foundation in his name, so this one might be a little controversial, but this was news to me, so I thought I'd share it with the class. There was an incident in 2014 when Shaq mocked the appearance of a man named Jamal Binion. Jamal suffers from a rare genetic condition which has resulted in some facial deformities. It seems like Shaq saw a picture of him online and recreated the image himself, posing his face to look like that of Jamal. Well, he didn't think it was very funny, and even though Shaq apologized, it wasn't enough, and so he issued a lawsuit against the basketball star, as well as 2 other people who mocked his condition for $25,000 in damages. The lawsuit claimed that the image was shared to nearly 10 million people around the world, so this public mocking was grounds for seeking damages. Shaq may not be a mean guy all of the time, but this instance sure did open a lot of people's eyes to the NBA star's actions. And finally at number 1, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey isn't the nicest person ever. She's had run-ins with the paparazzi which have not gone over well. She's had some bad relationships with others, and she's known to be something of a diva. But this takes the cake. There was a lawsuit from one of Mariah's former assistants which claimed that the singer peed on her, ridiculed her body, and then called her some pretty rude names. Her former assistant said that she was hired by the singer to be on call 24/7 and assisted both Mariah and her manager. Though she was paid a salary of $250,000 a year, this wage just couldn't cover up the alleged abuse sustained by Mariah. But her case wasn't the only one up against the singer at the time. While this case was being disputed, Mariah had just settled one with her former manager which cited breach of contract, harassment, and unpaid wages. It seems like though she pays her people well, she doesn't treat them as well as she should.
Coming in number 10 today, we have Megan Fox. Back in 2009, Transformers star Megan Fox would be branded as dumb, ungracious, rude, and an unbearable actress by crew members of the multi-million-dollar film franchise. As soon as the actor came out to diss the director, Michael Bay, by claiming that he objectified her on the set, the furious crew members who have stayed anonymous would post a long open letter to Megan on the director's official website and signed it as the loyal Transformers crew. In it, they tore into Megan as they labeled her as a second-rate Angelina Jolie who was disliked across the set by her diva-like behavior. The letter has since been removed from the site, but not before thousands of fans saw it. In the letter, the crew had claimed that Michael made Megan the next Angelina Jolie, but as time went on, the crew noticed that she was no Angelina because Angelina was professional and Megan was as dumb as a rock in both Transformers movies. The crew also went on to call her the grump of the set and claimed that she was the most ungracious person anyone could ever fathom. While the crew tried to welcome her, she just became really rude and later twisted the story when she was fired from the set for her poor behavior. Coming in number 9, we have Tom Cruise. Since 2019, film sets have had some pretty strict guidelines to protect everyone working on the set, and while many people were stuck inside, the entertainment industry was the only thing keeping people's hopes and spirits alive. So it was pretty understandable when Tom Cruise caught members of the Mission Impossible 7 set messing around. He expressed his frustrations, but the way he chose to do it was a little out there and really improper. As first reported by The Sun, after Cruise saw 2 of the members standing too close to one another in front of a computer screen, he told the crew, "If I see you do it again, you're effing gone." In the audio obtained by The Sun, Cruise could be heard saying, "We are the gold standard. They're back there in Hollywood making movies right now because of us, because they believe in us and what we're doing. I'm on the phone with every effing studio at night, insurance companies, producers, and they're looking at us and using us to make their movies. We are creating thousands of jobs, you mother effers. I don't ever want to see it again, ever." Cruise took the 2019 situation seriously, and that's why he was so strict about enforcing the guidelines on set and scowled the crew for taking advantage of the safe environment that the team in place helped create. Number 8, Lea Michele. It seems like Lea Michele was such a complete diva on the set of Glee that she had zero respect when it came to her cast and crew members. The actor who has been at the center of racism after she was called out by former co-star Samantha Ware on Twitter, Ima Edwards, who was featured in the 6th season on the series, then come out to say that she heard from multiple people that Lea called extras cockroaches behind the scenes. While Lea went on to treat many of her co-stars and crew members poorly. They would even describe working with Leah was like working in their own personal hell, and it really made them question their jobs in the entertainment industry. It's also been said that Michelle even treated the crew members poorly, as she would micromanage the set and tell people how to do their jobs, and she would even throw tantrums and hold sets up for hours, forcing crew and co-stars to work long-hour days. Number 7. Christian Bale. During the production of the 2009 sequel Terminator Salvation film, lead actor Christian Bale would be caught on tape having a meltdown. Just a few months after the film debuted, the audio recording would surface, and it was clear that it was made without the actor's knowledge, as he was shocked to know he was exposed by an unnamed person on the set. In the audio, Christian could be heard going off on the film's cinematographer Shane Hurlbut, who had walked onto the scene to check a light during the filming of a scene. This apparently was the second time that he had done it, and Bale became incensed, hitting Shane with a handful of F-bombs as he threatened to smash his lighting equipment if he did it one more time. What made matters worse is that Christian even threatened to quit the film if Shane committed this offense one more time without being fired. For Shane, on his part, he was very apologetic, but then again, he couldn't get into a shouting match with the film star and not get fired. Christian would then later come out apologizing for the incident, but the two haven't worked on the same project since. Number 6. Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl was at the height of her career when she joined Grey's Anatomy. However, after she decided to leave the show, it seems like the star would find herself blacklisted from sets due to her poor behavior. With cast and crew members back in 2007, Katherine would badmouth her own movie Knocked Up, which would prove that she was really hard to work with. However, it wouldn't be until 2008 when Katherine would really burn all her bridges in Hollywood after she was nominated for an Emmy and withdrew her name for consideration because she felt like the Grey's Anatomy season didn't give her enough material to be nominated. She would then come out to say in a statement that she didn't feel like she was given enough material to warrant an Emmy nomination. In an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, she was withdrawing her name, and the whole world would be shocked. But an Emmy nomination is an Emmy, and if you feel like you aren't given enough material, you still take the nomination, because sometimes these nominations only come around once in your lifetime, and some people never even find themselves being nominated. Since the Grey's Anatomy creator Shonda Rhimes has been greatly offended, and fans have been totally turned off by Katherine's behavior, as Shonda worked really hard for her show, and this Emmy nomination was a big deal. Number 5. Thomas Gibson. Actor Thomas Gibson would find himself being fired from the CBS drama Criminal Minds in 2016 after 11 seasons in the wake of an on-set altercation with a producer. ABC Studios and CBS TV Studios would then come out to say in a statement that Thomas was dismissed from Criminal Minds and that his character's exit would be addressed in the show at a later date. With Gibson's character only appearing in 2 episodes that year, the actor was set to never appear in a show again after the studio conducted an internal review of an incident that alleged Thomas kicked a producer on the show, who TMZ identified to be Virgil Williams. It's also been said in the past Thomas has been known to have violent outbursts. This even included one with an assistant director in 2010 who claims Thomas shoved him. This behavior would then result in the studio to send Thomas to anger management classes. However, after the studio realized even the classes weren't working with Thomas's behavior, they decided just to let him go from the show altogether. Number 4. Mike Myers. While The Cat in the Hat was a children's show we all enjoyed watching come to life, apparently Mike Myers made the reality a daily nightmare for the cast and crew members. Amy Hill would then come out to describe how bad it actually was to work with Mike. Not only would Mike be rude to the cast and crew, but he actually would have them sit around all day waiting for him to show up on set. He also made the set hire someone to follow him around while he was in a cat costume and feed him chocolates. Whenever he needed the chocolate, the guy would run over and hand feed the chocolates to him on the set. Well, one can only imagine what it would look like to see a grown man in a costume running around a set being fed chocolates by another human being. I can only imagine what the snack wrangler would put on their resume to describe that very job. Number 3. Christina Aguilera. Sources close to the Voice production team have claimed that Christina Aguilera was nothing but a woman of people, as she was extremely rude to both the crew and the fans on the show. The sources would also say say that Christina didn't want anyone to get close to her. If someone went to shake her hand, she would even yell at them not to touch her. While it's not uncommon for celebrities to want their personal space, Christina was just taking things a little too far when she started to freak out and yell at people to get out of her space, but they were only just standing in the same room as her. The crew also went on to note that it was actually pretty unpleasant to work with the diva, as she was really demanding and told everyone they should respect her. While the crew tried to deal with the situation the best they could, Christina just kept continuing to go on and ruin her image with her relentless wicked witch vibe. While the crew didn't want to hate her, they would state out of all the artists they have worked with, she seemed to be the least pleasant and compassionate out of all the bunch, and it was disheartening. Number 2, Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller is one of the few major celebrities that you rarely hear anything good or bad about, but maybe that's because he's secretly just a wonderful man and likes to keep his bad behavior on the down low. However, many people who have claimed Ben Stiller is great to work with, the Inquirer would draw a portrait that wasn't so full of sunshine and rainbows. While Ben was working on the set of The Little Fockers, he definitely got on someone's bad side as the cast and crew made some pretty disturbing allegations when it came to his behavior. Apparently, when working on the set, Ben would earn the nickname Little Focker as he alienated most of the cast and crew on the film in his vain, self-absorbed behavior, and when he wasn't obsessing over his looks, he would be throwing temper tantrums and screaming at the underlings. Ben even would go on to fire an assistant director and demanded star treatment for his entourage, personal chefs, hair and makeup minders, and refused to interact with the underlings unless it was to yell at them. His ego has gone off the charts, and he even went off on a female director for a perceived mistake and screamed at the top of his lungs that he never wanted to work with her again before storming off the set. He then refused to come back until she was gone, and the set let her go the next day and brought in a male replacement to appease Ben. And coming in number 1 today, we have Bill Murray. In April, Bill Murray's film would be shut down for an investigation into his alleged inappropriate behavior. That set a dark tone amid a resurface on set stories that kept Hollywood whispering for decades. In 1991, it said that Disney was even forced to hire bodyguards to protect the cast and crew of the 1991's What About Bob film, after the actor hurled a glass ashtray at Richard Dreyfuss and threatened to throw a female producer across a parking lot. Despite his enduring status of being a beloved Hollywood bad boy, Murray has repeatedly been accused of violently clashing with his co-stars, from butt-heading to inexcusable and unacceptable language on numerous sets stretching all the way back to the 1970s. It's even been said after multiple outbursts on the What About Bob set, everyone would walk off production and fly back to LA, and the film only resumed after Disney hired some bodyguards to physically separate Bill from his co-stars and crew members in between takes.
Number 10. Kim's nannies. Kim Kardashian is arguably one of the most famous of the Kardashian sisters, and it would also seem she's the busiest. For example, Kim has 4 kids, a skincare line, her Skims brand, she's attending law school, co-founded an equity team, and even recently hopped on the podcast train. In addition to filming her new reality show on Hulu. You may be asking yourself, how does one woman do all of that by herself? Well, she pays people to do it for her, duh. She has multiple assistants and nannies to help her stay above the overwhelming workload, but has been known to treat them as lesser than herself. For instance, on several occasions, Kim and her daughter North would go to lunch accompanied by a nanny, but Kim would always make her nanny sit at a separate table far away from them when they were in restaurants. But she is known to make her nannies also walk at least like 10 feet away from her at all times. Unless she has multiple nannies with her at once, then she likes to make them stand in like a V formation because it looks cool apparently. If they walk near her or attempt to try and walk side by side, she blows up at them behind closed doors. And needless to say, she has had many nannies over the year and has probably made a lot of them cry at least once. Number 9. Kourtney in general. While Kim may not be the best boss in the world, it's Kourtney who is known as the absolute worst boss of all time. According to former nannies, Kourtney was by far the worst Kardashian to work for. Not only is she a neat freak, needing every single thing to be exactly where it should be, but she's also known for being surprisingly cheap, even once calling a grocery store while she was shopping to compare the prices of a chicken breast. Because, if anyone needs that extra 99 cents, it's Kourtney. But this isn't the worst thing she's done. At one time, Kourtney's daughter had bitten a nanny so hard that she had to quit. But instead of letting it go and taking responsibility for not teaching her daughter how to act properly, she actually berated the nanny and told her that she should have said something to her daughter in the moment. Cause yes, blame the woman that you're paying to raise your child instead of the child itself, who's probably got some kind of an abandonment issue. Number 8. Toxic chemicals. Kylie Jenner is the youngest of the Kardashian clan, isn't extremely successful for her age. In 2019, she made the cover of Forbes magazine as the youngest self-made billionaire ever, following the successful partnership between her cosmetic brand and Ulta, a beauty salon company, which would allow the brand previously only available online and in random pop-up stores to be placed on shelves in Ulta's 1,000 plus stores. This is unfortunate considering the true nature of just where those products come from. You see, many employees at the factory that mix and package her makeup have reported that they were never given any proper safety equipment that one would require to do that job. They were only given hairnets, lab coats, and safety goggles, leaving their hands and faces completely exposed. And workers would regularly report migraines, mild chemical burns on their hands, and a myriad of other symptoms. If this isn't bad enough, they were also forced to act as human test subjects for Kylie's new products. Now, Kylie was very proud of her company not testing products on animals, but we can agree that using people like guinea pigs is like 1,000,000,000 times worse, right guys? Number 7. The underpay. While the Kardashians have had their problems with staff individually, there seems to be one specifically toxic trait that the family shares as a unit. They don't like to pay people. Former employees have come forward over the years calling out the family for not paying them fair wages or overtime hours. The Kardashians don't cover expenses, meaning gas, food, rent, anything that you need is paid out of pocket, with zero money coming back to you. To make matters worse, the Kardashians wouldn't pay them on a set amount of days, meaning you just kinda gotta check when you gotta check and had to deal with it in between A and B. You would think with the family being one of the richest in the world that they would at least pay the people that help run their lives. Now, while they have a massive staff of people cooking their food, folding their clothes, and raising their children, they barely even acknowledge their existence. Just imagine what would happen if that staff decided to walk out. The family would crumble in less than a day. Number 6. Factory workers. Popping back to Kylie's makeup factory for a moment, we felt the need to split her misdoings into 2 separate entries simply because of just how messed up this place really is. Not only do they not have proper safety equipment and are basically used as human test subjects whenever Kylie wants, the factory itself is small and cramped, with many employees claiming that there were too many workers and not enough space. This description sounds very similar to, a sweatshop, which is a word describing a workplace in which the employees work ridiculous hours and brutal conditions for nearly nothing for pay. And a lot of people agreed with that statement. One former tester recounts having to constantly go back and forth to the bathroom as her anxiety was always through the roof. She was around so many people so much of her day, and it was such a terrible work environment. We completely understand the need to escape. At one point a few years back, Kylie even refused to pay her employees at a garment factory in Bangladesh, leaving thousands of employees with no money and no idea when or if they were going to return to work. Man, you know what? You suck, Kylie. Number 5. Victoria. Victoria Valero has been Kylie's close personal assistant since 2015, but the pair go back to 2014 when she was interning as a personal assistant for Kylie's mother, Kris. After gaining the family's trust, she was hired as Kylie's house manager at first, but soon after became her personal assistant. Herself and Jenner became very close over the years, and Victoria was even present at the secret birth of Kylie's daughter, Stormi. Now, you would think with being so close to the family through thick and thin that she would want to stick around, right? Well, all good things must come to an end, as Victoria decided to quit in 2019. Many fans allege that she had just quit her job to focus on becoming an Instagram influencer, but that was far from her real reason for leaving. Being in that family means seeing a lot of stuff and doing a lot of stuff. And Victoria was basically in charge of scheduling Kylie's life, booking appointments, meetings, massages, all of this stressful enough, basically being a 24/7 gig, but the job was also very degrading, with Kylie having Victoria even pull out a stool once and set it up outside so that Kylie could get out of her car smoother. I think anyone in their right mind would want to get out of that job as quickly as possible. Number 4. Paid and exposure. When Andre Turbia, a very famous YouTube animator and content creator, was asked to work with Kylie Jenner, he thought that his life would change forever. He was under the impression that the collaboration would grant him a huge amount of money, possibly a guest spot on her reality TV show, and maybe some shoutouts online via Instagram and Twitter. However, when Andre brought up the topic of his compensations to Jenner, she responded with, the company doesn't actually have a budget right now to pay you, so we're just gonna have to pay you in exposure. Like, okay, that's cool. You can't cook exposure in a frying pan and eat it for dinner though, and I'm pretty sure it's not currency accepted at any gas stations or banks that I know of. And of course, by exposure, she meant that Andre's name was going to be printed as small as possible underneath her content. Andre did what anyone in their right mind would do in that situation and refused to work with her, telling her to take her exposure and shove it where the sun don't shine. Number 3, GoFundMe. In March 2021, Kylie, oh look, she's back again, shared an Instagram post asking for prayers for one of her makeup artists named Samuel Rhoda. The post redirected fans to a GoFundMe page where they were asking to donate money for covering his medical bills for an upcoming surgery. That's right, the woman made a feature on Forbes' top 60 self-made women and was asking her fans to give over the goods. So why would she not just use some of her billions of dollars to cover the bills herself? Well, she went online to claim that her and Sam didn't actually know each other personally, but she had worked with him a few years ago and thought that he was a sweetheart. Supposedly, her current makeup artist had shared a post about Samuel's accident, which included a link to a GoFundMe campaign created by his family. She went on to let fans know that she herself donated like $5,000. Okay, sure, that's a ton of money for us, but for Jenner, that's like $5. So something tells me the surgery is going to be a little bit more than that. This is just another instance proving that Kylie is the absolute worst. Number 2, Forbes flub. Oh, I'm sorry, was that not enough proof for you that Kylie sucks? Well, hey, here you go. As mentioned earlier in this list, Kylie Jenner made the cover of Forbes magazine in 2019 as the youngest self-made billionaire ever, following the successful partnership between her cosmetic brand, named after herself, and Ulta, a beauty salon company. Well, it turned out that wasn't really the case. Jenner allegedly sold half of her cosmetics company, Kylie Cosmetics, to beauty giant Coty in a deal worth $1.2 billion. Now, this was huge and considered one of the greatest celebrity cash outs of all time. But the first rule of being a famous person is, if you can help it, try not to lie. Especially to like Forbes magazine, who did some digging and revealed that Jenner was actually inflating the size and profit margins of her business. It turned out the cosmetic brand was on a much smaller scale than originally thought, as it was uncovered Jenner only actually made around $314 million after taxes for her company. Several financial advisors backed up the story, claiming that they were berated into complying with the lie and made to help maintain the numbers for publicity's sake. The mother of the family, Kris, even played a key role in gathering false business documents to send to Forbes, making her company appear to be in the billions. Remember, if you can't figure something out, just ask mom. And number 1, the lawsuit. In March of 2021, a lawsuit was arranged by several of Kim's former employees. The plaintiffs claim Kardashian West failed to pay overtime, cover expenses, or provide any legally mandated breaks, which, like, hey, super illegal. They also never received actual pay stubs or any proof of payment whatsoever. They were also made to purchase everything out of pocket, and one plaintiff was even fired on the spot for simply addressing his concerns to Kim. And when the rest were eventually let go, they received no type of severance package or pay of any kind. It was also uncovered that Kim would keep 10% of all of their earnings for tax purposes, but failed to report their employment to tax authorities. Kim's argument was that she could not be held responsible for any of this, as most of her employees were supposedly hired and paid by a third-party company, meaning that she herself was not technically their direct employer and therefore could not be liable. Kim maintains that she paid people on time and that they were suing the wrong person, but if that were the case, maybe Kardashian would have used some of her high status and influence long ago to make things work for her staff so that, hey, maybe she wouldn't be getting sued right now. Something to think about, Kim.
Coming in number 10 today, we have Will Smith. If you're a fan of the show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, then you know that Janet Hubert, who played the beloved character Aunt Viv, mysteriously vanished from the show at the end of season 3. And then in an interview with Atlanta radio station in 1993, Will Smith would try to call out his co-star by saying, "I can't say straight up that Janet Hubert wanted the show to be the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show, because I know she's going to dog me in the press. She has basically gone from $250,000 a year to nothing. She's mad now, but she's been mad all along. She said once, I've been in the business for 10 years and this snotty-nosed punk comes along and gets a show. No matter what, to her, I'm just the Antichrist." Then later, Janet would come out to criticize the show, and she would express her dislike for Will Smith by explaining how difficult he is to work with on set, and she even swore that she would never appear in a reunion episode when she said said there will never be a reunion with an a-hole like Will Smith. He is still an egomaniac and he has not grown up. This constant reunion thing will never happen in my lifetime unless there is an apology, which he doesn't know the word for. Number 9, Emma Roberts. Back in 2013, Star Magazine would report that Emma Roberts was a nightmare to work with on the set of the show American Horror Story. Emma, who played a movie star named Madison on the program, allegedly on season 3, the star's behavior has become so intolerable that her co-star and actress Gabourey Sidibe, who played Queenie, called Roberts out for her odd behavior by telling the actress to cut her attitude and stop being rude. An insider would then also tell the magazine that Emma's behavior was so bad, she even started to act like she was above everyone else on the set. And the magazine would also state that the feud between the two actresses erupted due to Emma's diva-like behavior on the set, as Emma was complaining about the tiniest things and she even refused to speak to certain crew members. While it seems like Emma was on the outs with one of her co-stars and some of the crew members, she was getting along well with the creator, writer, and producer Ryan Murphy. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Millie Bobby Brown. Back in July, Millie Bobby Brown started to make headlines everywhere after she decided to diss the Stranger Things writers in an interview with The Wrap. In the interview, Millie would discuss her interests in some of the gruesome changes occurring within the Stranger Things universe. One particular change would involve the show's creators getting rid of main characters by making them pass away, as Millie believes the cast of the characters has grown too much throughout the run of the series. And when she was looking around at the 4th season's premiere, she noted she didn't realize how large the cast had gotten. She also added that she thinks the show's creators are too sensitive, get rid of characters, before she stated, "We need to have a mindset of Game of Thrones. Kill me off, they tried killing David off, and then they brought him back." The Duffer brothers then responded to Millie's statement of calling them sensitive Sallys by saying that she was hilarious, before adding that they explored all options in the writing room and they don't want to make their show depressing. Number 7, Johnny Depp. After Amber Heard destroyed Johnny Depp's career, after he won his life back in 2022, you would think the actor would be on his best behavior. However, before his trial, there has been reports that Johnny had really odd behavior on set. And back in December, it would be reported that during the filming of Jean de Barry, where he plays Louis XV, Depp was extremely rude towards the director and co-star Maïwenn Lebasco. And actor Bernard Montiel would be the one to disclose the rumors during a French talk show called Don't Touch My TV Set back in October. The actor would reveal that Johnny and the director clashed throughout the entire set and that Johnny had been reportedly falling back into his old habits by saying, "I've heard some noise from the shoot, very serious stuff." So Depp is an excellent actor when he comes on set, except sometimes at 6 in the morning the crew is ready and nobody turns up. So of course Maïwenn, who is the director, gets angry and the next day she's the one who doesn't turn up. And then you got Johnny and she's not there. It's finished over this week, but it's going very, very badly. They don't get along at all and they're screaming at each other the whole time. Number 6, Amber Heard. It's clear that the word celebrity has definitely gotten to Amber Heard's head, because while she was in the UK filming the scene for a crime thriller called London Fields, it said that the actor threw a huge tantrum on the set that brought the production to a temporary standstill. A source would then tell the Daily Mail that there were some people watching the shoot outside. Then Amber came out to film and the actress got visibly upset about the onlookers, particularly at an individual who was watching. The source then said right in the middle of the scene, she stopped and said, "How am I supposed to do this when all I can see is that guy in my eye line?" Then after Amber was done throwing her tantrum, the crew was forced to set up a screen so Amber could film her scene without any distractions. Number 5, Shia LaBeouf. So we all heard the rumors about Shia LaBeouf's behavior on the set of Don't Worry Darling, while Olivia Wilde has claimed that Shia was making Florence Pugh feel uncomfortable while they were filming scenes due to his odd behavior on set. Shia would quickly deny Olivia's claims and say that he actually quit the film, which would cause Olivia to come out and double down on her claims that she fired him by saying, "My responsibility was towards her. I'm like a mother wolf. Making the call was tricky, but in a way, he understood. I don't think it would have been a process he enjoyed. He comes to his work with intensity that can be combative." While Olivia went on to note that she would love to see Shia evolve, she would also say that Shia is a great loss to the film industry because he's so incredibly talented and he's unable to work due to his poor behavior. Later, Olivia would even address Shia's behavior by saying, "He has a process in some ways, seems to require combative energy, and I don't personally believe that it is conductive to the best performances." Number 4, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase used to be one of the busiest and best loved comedy actors around. However, somewhere along the lines, the tides would turn after he burned multiple bridges and became difficult and combative to work with. While Chase is known for being portrayed as a nice guy, behind the scenes, Chase has a reputation as being one of the least pleasant men in Hollywood to work with. The problem, according to his peers, is that Chase is very difficult to be around because you don't know what to expect when it comes to the star's actions. When the star decided to return to SNL after leaving, he ruffled everyone's feathers in the process. What made matters worse is that the actor even directed his brand of cruel humor at Terry Sweeney, who was SNL's first openly gay casted member, and by all accounts, Chase threw a slew of homophobic jokes surrounding Terry. Then after Chase was forced to apologize to Sweeney, Terry would say, "He was really furious that he had to apologize to me, and it was just awful. He acted horrible to me. He acted horribly to everyone." And while many fans and crew members and co-stars have called out the actor on his poor behavior, it's clear that the actor doesn't even care, and he's even stated so. Number 3, Cameron Diaz. While Cameron Diaz became a rising star thanks to her role in the film Charlie's Angels, the star's air-rising antics have cemented a reputation of the actress as being a spoiled star. While Cameron was working on the film Sweetest Thing, a source would claim that Cameron became so demanding that she needed her underarm shaved, and she even had her personal assistant do it when they said she noticed between takes that she had some underarm stubble. Instead of going back to her trailer, to shave it herself, she lifts her arms high in the air and made her assistant do the demanding task right there in front of 200 extras. The source would then even claim that while filming, the actor messed up an easy line in a script 20 times just because she didn't like the scene. And after she kicked up a fuss to the director, she was able to get the line changed, and then she bragged to her co-stars on set that she knew the director would do it her way. Number 2, Joaquin Phoenix. When Joaquin Phoenix made an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, things would get incredibly awkward after Joaquin talked about how much fun he had on the set. Jimmy then decided to surprise the actor with a blooper that was sent over by director Todd Phillips that would show that the film was everything but a good time. In the video, it would show Joaquin cursing out the Joker cinematographer Lawrence Sher while trying to film a scene. In the video, you would see Joaquin saying, "Just the constant whisper. Just shut the F up, dude. I know you started the effing Cher thing. Larry, you think it's so effing funny making fun of me. I'm an effing diva. It's not even an insult. Cher, really? She's a single actor, dance, fashion icon. How is that an effing insult? I can't do this, man." The actor was then visibly shaken by seeing the footage broadcasted on national TV, and it's clear that he thought he would get away with his poor behavior, but then he got called out by Jimmy Kimmel. Joaquin would then note that he was embarrassed by his actions, and sometimes movies get intense because you're a lot of people in a small place trying to find something so it can feel intense. And coming in number 1 today, we have Lindsay Lohan. When Lindsay Lohan was working on the set of Glee, her second day on the set wouldn't go down as the star's finest hour. Sources on the set would then give E! News exclusive details about Lindsay's guest appearance, which would include the actress being incredibly late to the set, and the production even had to send out a car to pick her up and bring her to the set. A source would then even say Lindsay was a total nightmare yesterday, as she was 3 hours late in the morning, and when she did finally arrive, she didn't want to be there, she did not want to work, and she had not memorized her lines, and she kept disappearing so no one could find her. E! News would also also then claimed that the crew members on the set were so less than thrilled by Lindsay's antics that they even gave her the nickname of that girl for adding that she rubbed them all up the wrong way by being disrespectful to everyone else's schedules.
Number 10, worst of the bunch. Of all the members of the clan, Kendall Jenner has been consistently brought up as simultaneously the most relatable and the meanest. She may take up the most points on this list all by her lonesome. As the first and probably most minor complaint against her, a TikTok video where a fan recalled meeting Kim Kardashian in New York City also happened to throw shade at Kendall at the same time. In the video, the TikToker praised Kim for being, quote, the most polite celebrity I've ever met. Talking about the celebrities that she has met, the TikToker said, quote, including Kendall, who I can't say the same about. It was interesting how when the conversation was about Kendall specifically, the TikToker made note that, quote, Kendall could learn a thing or two. The post made its way to Reddit where other fans joined in on the conversation and their opinions on Kendall. One user wrote, Kendall has always just given me that reserved, wiry, shy but rude kind of vibe on the show. I wasn't sure if that was her in character. There was also one commenter that claimed to not know a single Keeping Up with the Kardashians fan who had a positive experience when meeting Kendall Jenner in real life. And here's an example of that very thing. Number 9, no tip for you. Back in 2014, a waitress accused Kendall Jenner of skipping out on a $60 bill and not leaving a tip. But wait, when the waitress allegedly chased after Kendall Jenner to get the money, Kendall turned around and threw cash in the woman's face and then laughed. It doesn't even sound like real life. The waitress then took to Twitter saying, quote, that horrible moment when you chase a Kardashian down the street because she forgot to pay her bill to be thrown money in your face. Kendall did respond to the rumors, but by calling them ridiculous, and she then had her lawyers whip up a cease and desist letter to the server. Nothing kinda says guilt like an instant cease and desist letter. I wouldn't know, I'm just thinking that's what it's like. 3 years later though, Kendall was also not a good customer at a bar in Brooklyn when a server posted a since deleted picture of a bill for just $24 that Kendall had signed but left the tip field blank. Now Kendall responded to this one as well, but by saying that she paid it in cash, but the bar accused her of lying. What are your thoughts on tipping? I know that it's one of the main benefits of waiting tables or bartending, so to skip out on that for me is pretty vile. Number 8, Sugar Factory. All those many years ago, back in 2016, Kendall's younger sister, Kylie Jenner, was at the opening of Sugar Factory in Orlando, Florida. For her arrival, Kylie had around 3,000 of her fans waiting for her, only for them to apparently be disappointed. The official press release from Sugar Factory themselves, of course, had almost entirely positive things to say surrounding the opening and Kylie's participation in it, but one publication, Star Magazine, seemed to see things a little differently. Coming from an insider source, the magazine got reports that Kylie's appearance at the opening was actually, quote, a huge disappointment, and that apparently she was rude to the majority of her fans. Star Magazine stated that apparently the youngest of the Kardashians/Jenners apparently showed up to the event an hour late, and if that weren't bad enough, she only stayed for about 5 minutes to take a few selfies and then just dipped on out of there, leaving fans dissatisfied and disappointed. Number 7, fitness. For a period of time in like the mid-2010s, Khloe Kardashian was pretty heavily focused on her fitness and getting into shape. Hell yeah, we love living healthily. But going along with that time in her life, Khloe would often post her workouts on social media, specifically Snapchat, for fans to follow along to and get themselves in shape alongside the celebrity. But as usually is the case, there was criticism, and some fans didn't think the videos were all that good. Well, Khloe understandably snapped back on Snapchat in 2017. With the pottiest of potty mouths, she addressed the seemingly impossible to please fans, saying, quote, what bothers me so much about people is that I'm giving you guys my workouts on my snaps for free. She continued on, quote, why the F are you still complaining and saying, if I had a trainer, if I had a gym? Well, I don't have a gym. We're doing everything outside. I'm showing you guys how to do the workouts so you don't need a trainer. I'm using everything that I'm sure you guys have around the house or could improvise. What the F? To be completely honest, I actually kind of agree with her. To complain that the videos she made out to share her experience and to try and help people who want to work out aren't good enough is kind of just a little rude. But then again, she also said if only complaining burned calories, you guys would be some healthy I can't say the whole of the sentence, but you get what I'm saying? Kinda waiting it out. Number 6, nobodies. Now, we all need to just sit back and take this one with a little itty tiny bitty grain of salt. When a magazine uses the words insider source, more than half the time, it's just someone off the internet or someone who is not actually an insider, and therefore their statements cannot be taken as fact. It's also worth noting that most people have found Kim to be the nicest person of the family when meeting fans. But, that being said, Kim Kardashian allegedly calls her fans stupid little nobodies. According to Star magazine, in 2012, an insider source, quote unquote, told the publication that, quote, Kris has text and voicemails from Kim where she calls her audience gullible, ouch, stupid imbeciles, ooh, boring little nobodies, yikes, and pathetic people with no lives of their own. Mic drop. Ouch, my feelings are hurt. I'm not a fan, but my feelings are still hurt. Don't be so rude. If you didn't actually say those things though, I'm sorry. And you're great, Kim. You're a great person. Number 5. Well then, I'm sure that most of us can agree that social media, but specifically Twitter, is a cesspool of meme lords, trolls, and keyboard warriors. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. Twitter is like a breeding ground for hot takes, upsetting political stances, taking shots at famous people who would never normally give you the time of day, and apparently wannabe sports commentators. Those very same sport fans found a way to both comment on the state of the Cleveland Cavaliers and take shots at Khloe Kardashian in one swift move. One Twitter user tweeted, presumably as a joke, quote, Cavs haven't been playing too well since Khloe Kardashian. Just saying. That's because Khloe had been in a toxic as hell relationship with Tristan Thompson, who was playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. For the record though, it was Tristan that was the toxic one, but in defense of her boo and the team he plays for, Khloe decided to clap back, and in her well-worded rebuttal, Khloe tweeted, quote, they are number 1 in their conference, but thanks for sucking my expletive. Hard enough to think I have that much power. Lick on my expletive while you're at it. I think we can all agree Khloe is truly a wizard of words. A true poet, I think. Very nice. Very good. Number 4, selfie. Last year, Hulu's Victoria's Secret documentary was available for the world to watch, but one clip from the documentary in particular caught some attention, and it was Kendall Jenner, back again, being a true Scorpio. It's a very short clip, but essentially the scene sees Kendall sitting on what looks like a makeup chair with a silk pink robe on, and a group of fans behind her. Basically, Kendall reaches back, takes a phone from one of the fans, snaps a couple selfies, and then hands it back. That's all that happened, but the whole thing was just so funny because, other than the brief moment where she smiled for the selfie, Kendall was not just straight-faced, but she had the stank face on. The one where you really just ain't there to even pretend to be nice to people. That kind of face. I feel like we all know what we're talking about. The fan looked like she was being silently told off when Kendall handed that phone back, and when Kendall turns back to camera with this annoyed eyebrow raise kind of thing, she looks like she wishes she would be anywhere else. Of course, the clip made its way to Twitter where people voiced their thoughts, like this one person who tweeted, quote, this clip of Kendall from the Hulu Victoria's Secret doc really says a lot about who she probably is. Someone on Reddit added, quote, that eyebrow raise and look of annoyance is irritating my soul. One more person did make a good point though when they wrote, it is actually disgusting. They forget that the fans are the reason they have what they have. And that is primarily kind of true, ain't it? Number 3, not in the mood. Now look, being a celebrity, having people wanting to take pictures with you all the time can be very exhausting, and celebrities have every right to say no when they don't want to take pictures with their fans. Point blank. Just as every person is allowed to say they don't want to pose for a picture. In an episode of Kourtney and Khloe Take the Hamptons, Kourtney Kardashian and Scott Disick are off taking a casual ride through his childhood neighborhood in an old convertible. As is bound to happen, a few girls end up noticing them at a stop sign and they ask if they can take a picture with the stars. Scott was all for it, saying sure, but Kourtney quickly follows up with no! And they continued on with their drive through memory lane. Now Scott apologized to the fans saying, alright, sorry, she said no, as they drove off. And Scott is like, that's not very nice. And she explains she simply didn't want to get out of the car and that she's, quote, not in the mood for a pic. Honestly, fair, she doesn't have to be, but I think she could have maybe been just a wee bit nicer about it. I don't know. What do you think? Number 2, best spot in the shade. Ever been asked to move so a celeb can take a photo shoot where you were comfortably chillin'? Well, a TikToker by the name of Lizudel called out Kim Kardashian for allegedly booting her out of this really chill area at Revolve Festival that was right by a lake with like really nice grass, some decent shade, and it had like a fire pit. It was a good spot to get, but it was also a great spot for a photo shoot, and that's exactly what Kim wanted it for. The caption in the clip says, quote, "Right before Kim K kicked us out of this shady chill spot at Revolve," with the caption accompanying the clips reading, "Much love to your photo shoot," which is kind of like passive aggressive, so obviously the TikToker was a little peeved about it, but to be completely fair, reactions in the comments were pretty mixed. Some folks agreed and thought that it was messed up for Kim Kardashian to ask anyone to move, but others made a good point. Kim was promoting the brand Revolve that were running the festival in the first place, so these fans reasoned that it's fair that Kim gets to choose where she wants the photos taken. One comment read, quote, "Well duh, they invited influencers. Nobody knows who you are. They're gonna make you move." And that actually seemed to make a little bit of sense to a lot of people and to me as well, to be perfectly honest, but at the same time, when an area is available publicly for everyone, being expected to move so that Kim Kardashian can take a photo, it kinda sucks. Number 1, even at the airport. We gotta end the list with Kendall Jenner yet again. I'm so sorry. There are just so many more instances of Kendall being less than great with people as there are for any of the other Kardashians. As part of an ongoing series, a former LAX employee has been taking to TikTok, ranking her experiences with some of the many celebrities she's crossed paths with during her years working at the airport. Kendall Jenner was one of those celebrities, and the TikTok did not paint her in a great picture. The former employee described her interactions with Kendall saying, quote, "Every time she flew out, she was not really friendly to anybody and just walked around like really arrogant." Then she slapped Kendall with a 2 out of 10 rating. 2 is pretty good, right? It's 1 more than 1 and 2 more than 0, so I'd say that's something. This TikTok pretty heavily reminds me of the first and second point on this list. I promise I don't have anything against Kendall, she just seems to be the one who consistently gets called out for being a little unsavory with employees and general people. While it's possible these are just instances of negative experiences staffers had with Kendall, the consistency of the bad experiences, coupled with all that we have seen from Kendall and everyone else, doesn't paint a great picture of her or anyone's character. Kicking off the list at number 10 is Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle is more than a little divisive, and she has been for a hot minute. Ever since her and Prince Harry became a thing, people love to dish out how she's apparently incredibly mean to those who work under her. Interestingly though, it's usually those who don't like her that seem to bring these issues forward, but nonetheless, there have been multiple reports of Meghan treating royal staffers less than appropriately. According to one story, the former actor was tasting food for her wedding and she had reportedly requested a, quote, macrobiotic alliterative option. Now, I don't even know what those words mean, but apparently it means no eggs, because she got very upset when she thought there was egg in the dish, and well, there wasn't. According to Vanity Fair's royal reporter, Katie Nichol, quote, "She said, no, I can taste it. I can taste there's an egg in this dish. And I think there was a bit of an upset when suddenly the Queen walked in and she just quietly took Meghan to the side and said, Meghan, in this family, we don't speak to people like that." There were also a series of leaked emails written by Jason Nauf, a former palace communications secretary, that were sent to Prince William's private secretary with the names of 2 bullied staffers subbed for X and Y. In the email, Nauf wrote, "The Duchess seems intent on always having someone in her sights. She is bullying Y and seeking to undermine her confidence. We have had report after report from people who have witnessed unacceptable behavior towards Y." Number 9, Anna Wintour. You ever seen The Devil Wears Prada? If you haven't, well, be better and go watch it. The main villain of the film and the book it's based on is the assistant protagonist boss, Miranda Priestley, the powerful New York City-based editor-in-chief of the fictional fashion magazine Runway, who of course is fictional. But the author of the book, Lauren Weisberger, worked as a junior assistant for Anna Wintour, a New York City-based editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine since 1988, and that is not fictional. What does that tell us? Lauren has since said that the list of demands made by the editor in the novel is made up of both fact and fiction, with the factual parts being inspired by what she endured early in her career under Winter. There is a whole book semi-based on the way that this woman would treat her assistants and how it completely changes a person for the worst. So that's all you need to know, really. Number 8. Katie Couric. Back in 2021, journalist and presenter Katie Couric published a memoir called Going There, which was supposed to be all fun and gossipy, but it was decidedly not that. She described in the book how she froze out female colleagues at NBC to protect her, quote, turf at the top, and how she loved getting under rival female colleagues' skin. According to a TV industry insider, Couric contributed to the infamous toxicity at NBC and was part of a culture that wasn't supportive of women. In her book, she talks down on women from Martha Stewart to Diane Sawyer and Deborah Norville, and it's all for the ambition they show, which is pretty similar to Katie's own ambition. Those who have worked for Couric say that her memoir is par for the course with the celeb. According to an anonymous senior news producer, quote, she gives fresh meaning to that old saying, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women. Another female co-worker whose feelings she hurt is Ashley Banfield, who staffers said was humiliated by Couric at the 2000 Olympics and treated like a child. Couric even admits in her book that she gave Banfield the cold shoulder because helping her would have been, quote, self-sabotage. There's also the fact that she kind of excused the actions of Matt Lauer, but that's a whole separate thing all of its own. Number 7. Naomi Campbell. The legendary model Naomi Campbell changed the fashion industry and is still one of the most important supermodels ever. If you think that means she must be nice, then let me introduce you to the way the world works. Naomi has been so bad that it's led to actual legal action, multiple times. As some examples, in 2000, Campbell was sued by her assistant Georgina Galanis, as apparently the model blunt forced Galanis with a telephone in a hotel room and then threatened to push her out of a moving car. In 2004, Campbell supposedly introduced her personal assistant, Amy Castellado, to her forehead with force and then bit her lip and yanked her to the floor while screaming, "You effing worthless bee." I can't actually say the words, but I think you can infer what I'm trying to say here. And then in 2006, Campbell allegedly pulled another blunt force on her housekeeper, Anna Scolavino, with a mobile phone. That same year, Campbell is said to have open palmed her personal assistant, Amanda Brack, and struck her on the head, again with a mobile phone. So, what I'm saying is that 1, she is literally physical with people, and 2, her choice of tool for these interactions seems to always be some form of communication device. So, if you ever see Naomi Campbell with a phone or like a walkie-talkie or something, just be on guard, okay? Because she's vicious with that. She's vicious with it, that's all I'm saying. All jokes aside though, between 1998 and 2010, 8 employees have accused the supermodel of getting physical with them, and I don't think we should just let that off lightly. Number 6. Victoria Beckham. If you thought that the Spice Girl, who went by Posh Spice, wasn't going to be at least a little problematic with her staff, well, I don't know, I guess you were wrong, huh? Look at that. A former nanny of fashion designer and former Spice Girl Victoria Beckham has revealed that Victoria expects all the nannies of her household to answer to the name Joe, even if their name is not Joe. So, if you're working with Naomi Campbell, you get dinged up by the wonders of modern communication, but if you're working for Victoria Beckham and her kids, your individual identity is at stake. So pick your poison, I guess. Remind me to never work for a celebrity, ever. Apparently, this is because the very first nanny of Beckham's daughter Harper was named Joe, and I suppose this rule is to not confuse the kid? But you're telling me that your kid can't understand the basic principles of jobs and employee turnover? I don't know, seems a little suspicious. Number 5. Madonna. She may be one of the most influential artists in pop music, but Madonna has a rep. I think someone somewhere probably knew she would be on a list like this, and maybe it was you. Ooh. Madonna has a huge team of people under her, and while in one instance you would have her backup dancers willing to get arrested for dancing provocatively in her shows in Toronto, you'd have way more instances of them just not being paid or not being paid in full, which has led her employees to sue her multiple times. She has fired or lost staff for taking time off, being upset about the crazy long hours they're expected to work, the fact that they don't get enough breaks, and for being required to be on call 24/7. On top of that, she's been sued multiple times for acting inappropriately with her staff, and a couple of years ago, an anonymous source revealed that when one of Madonna's dancers broke her arm during practice, instead of being concerned, Madonna threw a fit. Number 4, Lady Gaga. I know the Lady Gaga fans are many, and I know they are powerful, but alas, if your idol is kind of the worst sometimes, I am honor bound to talk about it. Sorry. Gaga's former assistant Jennifer O'Neill says that Lady Gaga has a, quote, big head, and that her demands became bigger and bigger once she started to get bigger. That same assistant was the one who eventually sued the artist for $400,000 in unpaid overtime, which was settled out of court. Not only did she not get paid what she fairly earned, but the assistant had discussed some of the expectations of the job once Gaga had gotten big. She had to handle around 20 bags of luggage at the same time, handle all the singer's communications, and she was on call at every moment of the day. According to O'Neill, she was by her side virtually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That includes sleeping in the same bed with her because she did not sleep alone. And Jennifer wasn't even given breaks for food or sleep, so imagine how that worked out. Not very well. Number 3, James Corden. From what I know, Late Late Show host James Corden being exposed as kinda just the worst is a more recent revelation. There have been a few different stories that I've heard of, including a little back and forth with Sir Patrick Stewart at an awards show a few years back, which you can watch on YouTube, and I suggest you do because it's kind of really awkward and really funny. But the story I hear the most involves James being a menace to the service industry. According to Balthazar owner Keith McNally, who took to Instagram on October 17th, 2022 to publicly ban James Corden from the New York City restaurant, James Corden is, quote, a talented comic but a tiny cretin of a man. Which is just hilarious. In his Instagram post, he detailed multiple incidents in which James was rude, dismissive, or nasty to the restaurant staff, calling the late night host the worst he'd had in 25 years of hospitality service. That's coming from a guy who runs a New York restaurant, so you know he's seen some things. But even though McNally forgave Corden and lifted his ban, it got people talking. Like former Spice Girl Mel B, who dubbed James Corden the biggest D-head in Hollywood while on Britain's The Big Narsty Show on December 2nd, 2022. According to her, James feels people are beneath him. She said, quote, whether it be production, camera guys, sound lighting, we all work for the same thing, so you should always be nice. And he hasn't been very nice. Number 2, Vin Diesel. If you think having a co-producer credit on the absolutely massive Fast and Furious franchise would go to someone's head, well, you'd be correct. Look at you go. Armed with his producer credit, Vin Diesel has been able to get away with a lot of tardiness on his Fast and the Furious sets. With the power to make decisions about pretty much everything, Vin has apparently peed off quite a few cast and crew members on his films. Apparently, he ain't a fan of 7 a.m. Monday morning call times for set, which is kind of understandable. So, the whole production was forced to make it 10 a.m. just for him. These are 12-hour days, usually more actually, just so we understand what's going on here. But even with that adjusted time schedule, Vin was often 30 minutes to an hour late to shoot scenes. And it wasn't because he was late to set, it's because he was chillin' in his 1,100 square foot, 2-story custom-built gold trailer with $70,000 worth of technology, round-the-clock video surveillance, and granite countertops in the kitchen. I'm actually not joking, and that trailer does indeed follow him around the world to sets. It's actually kinda cool, not gonna lie, but not cool enough to hold up entire productions. Vin also makes very big decisions about what will and won't happen on the films, and he would take off a lot of people doing that. One of them famously being The Rock, who made a post about it online. Now, The Rock regrets that action, but as he said in a later interview, quote, yet interestingly enough, it was as if every single crew member found their way to me and either quietly thanked me or sent me a note. But yeah, it wasn't my best day sharing that. And finally, in at number 1, Alec Baldwin. No, I'm not going to be talking about the fact that Alec Baldwin accidentally took someone's life on set, but I will be talking about how the actor has been accused of belittling customer service workers. In May 2023, a server accused Alec of calling her a peasant. The anonymous waitress told Page 6, "I was going to feed the head of the table, but that's who Alec was talking to. So I go up to him and I say, 'I'm sorry sir, but we're going to have servers walking through the tables here in a minute.' Which is when Alec asked her, 'So when is it a good time to talk to my friends, huh?' Adding to that, he was very agitated and asked her, quote, 'Do I have to explain it to you?' After replying that she didn't need Alec to explain a damn thing, Alec allegedly said, 'Well then, step aside.' Apparently, afterwards, her co-workers informed her that Alec had called her a peasant as she continued on doing her job. Now, there are also multiple clips online of Alec getting pretty aggressive with paparazzi, which is okay, and there was a time he got pretty fed up when cycling through New York. Baldwin has been known for his anger issues for quite some time now, so yeah. Coming in at number 10 is Gordon Ramsay. Now, obviously, this doesn't really come as a surprise to anyone, but also in the world of cooking, I don't actually think that Gordon Ramsay is the worst chef out there when it comes to treating his employees like a bunch of schmucks. I don't really need to give examples. If you go and watch almost any of his shows, he has got a no BS policy, and he will call out employees, clients, or hell, kitchen contestants aggressively for their shortcomings and idiocracy. But on the flip side of that, Gordon does reward hard work, stands up to aggressive customers, can be genuinely very nice, and if you've watched any of the kids' cooking shows he works on, you see that he is actually genuinely nice to children. Anytime we have seen Gordon Ramsay lose himself on somebody, it's always been someone that is at a high enough level in their career to know better, or they're at a high enough level that they've dealt with angrier French chefs, like the one who initiated Gordon into his career path in the first place. Number 9, Kendall Jenner. Once upon a time, a TikTok documented story was told by a disgruntled waitress that took place between Kendall Jenner and said server at Mercer Kitchen one night when Jenner asked for a cocktail and was denied her request. It's worth noting that she was underage at the time, so being denied is how it goes. But being told no is just not something that we can handle, is it? No, it's not. So she stormed out of the restaurant without paying her bill. Does that count as theft? I don't know. What's that actual charge? What's the charge for doing that? Tell me down below. Whatever it is, Kendall won't be worrying about the law because she did pay eventually. The server just had to chase her onto the street and request the money, which is when Jenner reportedly threw some cash in the server's face and carried on her merry way, bringing joy and smiles to the world. End of story. You're welcome. Number 8, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan is known for her love of parties. Or rather, I think she's known for those parties not going particularly smoothly and she winds up somewhere she doesn't want to be. Sure, Lohan is making a lot of effort to recover, and I think she's had her fair share of shame from the rest of us. But it doesn't really help when you learn that when the party has worn out its welcome, it leaves us with a hungover Lohan, and that girl is mean. Recently, some of Lohan's staff members have confided that she often wakes up at noon at the earliest, which, hey, I think all of us would do that if we had the chance. But naturally, Lohan is always in a terrible mood due to the hangover she has, and often takes out her crabbiness on her employees. Number 7, Rihanna. I don't wish for this to be true, but if it's on the internet, it must be true. That's how that goes, right? Honestly, we all know that Rihanna has some attitude and doesn't really put up with idiots, but we also know that she is incredibly fun and funny and has been just the best at times. Unfortunately, there's always some bad with the good. One of Rihanna's alleged staff members has come forward to vouch for her apparent sassy side. She stated that Rihanna has been an absolute nightmare to work for a long time. She said that Riri makes all kinds of ridiculous demands, is always under the influence of one substance or another, and has a total disregard for basic manners. Apparently, she doesn't even bother speaking to her staff. An anonymous source said that Rihanna doesn't talk to any of the, as they put it, hired help. Apparently, Rihanna also falls asleep when she is getting her makeup done, but that one I want to hope is just because of her massive busy schedule. Coming in at number 6 today is Beyonce. This one is almost as hurtful, if not more hurtful, than finding out Rihanna can be a little crabby sometimes. Beyonce, the queen bee, apparently can be a bit of a diva. Now I'm gonna pause here to say, it's Beyonce. Of course she's a diva. While I'm sure most of us imagine her as a graceful angel blessing us all with her presence, yeah. Well, a source revealed that about 10 years ago while she was on a tour, all the local staff were instructed by Beyonce's people to not look at her, speak to her, or approach her. The staff were actually told before the show that if Beyonce was coming down the hall, you were to find an unlocked room and immediately go into it out of her presence. Which is just kind of hilarious, but also what the hell? But that ain't the end. Everything backstage had also had to be draped in linen, which then had to be smoothed out after she walked on it. And that part feels made up, but for some reason, I also believe it. Number 5, Tiger Woods. We all know that the moral standpoint of our friend Tiger Woods here is a little wavering, you know? Cheating on his wife aside, the guy is also apparently just not the nicest. Hank Haney, Tiger's former coach, with whom he had a pretty big falling out, gave out a few details about Woods' personality and etiquette around others. The angry former coach is obviously not on the greatest terms with the golfer, but he also has stated that Woods was a total jerk. He would force everyone he was dining with to leave the restaurant when he felt like it, whether they were ready or not, whether they were done eating or not. Haney also said that Woods had a reputation for tipping notoriously small amounts after eating out, and sometimes he wouldn't even tip at all. If you have Tiger Woods money and you do not tip, do not talk to me. Then again, you probably wouldn't be talking to me if you had that kind of money anyways, but grr, Tiger Woods, bad. Number 4, Lea Michele. Lea Michele was the closest thing to a lead on Glee, and she has become pretty well known recently for being an absolute nightmare to work with, as well as being outed as an itty bitty smidge bit racist by her co-stars and some crew of the show where she made some people's lives apparently living hell. In a statement from one of her co-stars, Heather Morris, she wrote, quote, "Let me be very clear, hate is a disease in America that we are trying to cure, so I would never wish for hate to be spread on anyone else." With that being said, was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so. For Lea to treat others with the disrespect that she did for as long as she did, I believe she should be called out. So, we know she's made set life pretty hellish, but that extends to the service industry as well. It's been alleged that Michele verbally accosted a waiter once by chastising him and telling him he had no idea what he was talking about. Now first of all, anyone who says that at a restaurant to a waiter is probably the one who doesn't know what they're talking about. But there we go. Michele reportedly made fun of him when he tried to explain the ingredients in the dish, and then complained about him to more than one manager. More than that though, Michele was actually dining with her family and reportedly sent her father to knock on the kitchen window to see when the food was coming. Which is just so embarrassing. I couldn't do that. Nah. Number 3, J-Lo. Jennifer Lopez has been known, other than her marriages, for being relatively hard to work with. Among other incidents, J-Lo has been accused of getting a hotel maid fired for asking for her autograph. She's been rude to a flight attendant and put loads of pressure on her personal assistant, who was expected to do anything she needed you to do at the minute, whether that was cooking, cleaning, or scheduling. Which sounds like an assistant's job, but meh. Jenny has an infamous list of requirements for her staff as well. Back in 2012, it was suggested that the singer banned the people working on her new San Fernando Valley, California home from talking to or making eye contact with her. Heather Morris, who we talked about for Lea Michele, also used to be a backup dancer for J-Lo and claimed that after 8 hours of hoofing for a spot on the tour, Lopez asked all the dancers to raise their hands if they were Virgos, and then sent all those Virgos back home. Which is mean to Virgos. I'm a Virgo, that's rude. Leaked documents also reveal that Lopez's spaces, like hotels and all that jazz, must be painted entirely white with white linens, drapes, furniture, and even candles. Which is what? And also lastly, Jenny from the block apparently makes her assistant talk to waitstaff and airline employees instead of just talking to them directly. Jenny was from the block, but she's not anymore. Coming in at number 2 today is Usher. Before Usher was 21, he reportedly tried to use his celebrity status to force a bartender to sell to him, which was indeed refused. Now, we can try and blame that on a famous, rich, young person trying to flaunt his newly acquired fame. That is somewhat excusable, not really, but somewhat. But then again, it's also been stated that he has returned to the exact same establishment years later, and this time he left behind his autograph instead of a tip. And that makes me want to cry to the heavens and ask who gave this man the audacity. On top of that, several people on Reddit have claimed that Usher is just a rude customer. In a thread dedicated to exposing Cerber's experiences with celebrities, one Reddit user claimed that the R&B star refused to order for himself or speak to staff directly. The user also claimed that Usher didn't tip them, not even an autograph this time. Wow, crazy. And finally, in at number 1, it's Naomi Campbell. The legendary model Naomi Campbell changed the fashion industry and is still one of the most important supermodels ever. If you think that means she must be nice, then let me introduce you to the way the world works. Naomi has been so bad that it's led to actual legal action, multiple times. As some examples, in 2000, Campbell was sued by her assistant Georgina Galanis, as apparently the model blunt forced Galanis with a telephone in a motel room and then threatened to push her out of a moving car. That's pretty bad on its own. But then again, in 2004, Campbell supposedly introduced her personal assistant, Ami Castaldo, to her forehead with force, and then bit her lip and yanked her to the floor while screaming, words I'm not allowed to say online. And then in 2006, Campbell allegedly pulled another blunt force on her housekeeper this time, Anna Scalabino, with a mobile phone. That same year, Campbell is said to have open palmed her assistant, Amanda Brack, and struck her on the head again with a mobile phone. So basically, if you ever see Naomi Campbell with a phone, or a walkie-talkie, or a BlackBerry, or like, I don't know, a telegram, you gotta be on guard because she's coming for you. Like she attacks with that stuff. All jokes aside though, between 1998 and 2010, 8 employees have accused the supermodel of getting physical with them, and I don't think we should just let that off lightly at all. Not cool.